From coast to coast, Virtual2Reality comes back to GT3 racing. This time, we are in California. Welcome back to Monterey. Laguna Seca WeatherTech Raceway is the place to be as drivers are competing for an even bigger cash prize and a prize pool worth remembering. If you were with us last month, Watkins Glen was the track that hosted, but now we get a chance to do things a little bit different as it's all time now, not only to compete for that cash prize, but a one-day lesson from Skip Barber Racing. Welcome to Laguna Seca. You're watching live on the Virtual2Reality YouTube channel, produced and commentated by those at FTN Broadcasting. Great to be back with you today. I'm David Kreutz, commentating and producing, and we're going to get going in just a few minutes' time. Practice is just getting on the move. Drivers have set most laps so far. They've gotten their times in. We have 30 plus of which are still getting ready as we speak. And if you take a look down at the circuit right now, many of which are getting themselves put in for tonight's event. Main feature is going to see 30 drivers, however, more than 40 of which have registered for tonight. Right now, the number 36, Gavin Nakagawa, one of those who has to make the move, of course, into the first of many heats. Qualifying is estimated to start in about 3 minutes' time, and so drivers have a little bit more time to prepare until that point. You are watching tonight. It is the Skip Barber Racing GT3 Challenge. As it stands, we're waiting for a little while longer to see whether or not more drivers will come out, in which case we'll join you with some additional coverage in just a few minutes' time. Andres Luna also on the circuit. Drivers 16 teams of which have come out for tonight's festivities as well. With the clock ticking down in the practice session, 3 minutes left. Fastest time ran by Michael Polasek in the number 11, 122.042 with that quick time. Right now, Gavin going to be in 30th. Brendan Graisley is going to be 28th. John Buwalski is going to be in 29th here. A lot of the drivers on the back end of the lineup are still taking times. Max Dwyer, Gerard Davis have also just taken the circuit. Davis, one of which running tonight for a multi-car enterprise. He is with fastest lap, perhaps one of the bigger teams you might remember from last month's running. Oasis Sim Racing, of course, got the victory after Super Lap Sim Racing Chicago. They had a big incident. We'll talk all about Watkins Glen and company in just a few moments' time. So Gerard going to get on the way as his first attempt, and Robert Cortez drives tonight for Drive Sims. Andres Luna, number 38, going to find his way on the track as well, and you can see him coming right out of the final section, past the final 90-degree corner and up the front straightaway. Variety and manufacturers. Last time we went racing, it was only the Ford Mustang GT3s. Tonight, we have a variety. Fords, Mustangs, of course. We have Chevy Camaros, we have Ferraris, Lamborghinis, McLarens, and Porsches, all littered throughout. Here's one of the Porsche drivers, Gavin Nakagawa, for Circuit Sim Racing. Circuit Sim Racing, multiple drivers as well. Some teams sending as many as 6 drivers into this event, and strength in numbers proved to be pivotal last time around to making it to the main feature. Doesn't always mean that a driver or a team are going to win. Just because they send a lot of drivers doesn't mean instant success in the main show. So and we're going to see a lot more of that focus in the heats, which are coming up very soon. Final few seconds of practice here before we move on to our qualifying, and Gavin Nakagawa setting a time that gets up to 30th. Connor Clifford, number 22 on the board, also Circuit Sim Racing, and you can see that Porsche 911 heading up the hills as well. Quick time so far for Connor, coming just a second under the fastest time. Right now, of all 39 drivers, they've set laps within 5 seconds of each other over this winding 2.24 mile circuit. Some drivers have still not set their official fastest time, many of which qualified on speeds quicker. We'll find out whether or not they can match those speeds again in the coming moments. Practice has concluded here in Laguna Seca. Michael Polasek going to take that fastest time. And as such, we're going to move on to your first qualifying session of the day in just a few moments here. We're going to stand by, take a break here from Virtual2Reality.tv, and take you to a few messages from our partners and associates, including iRacing.com. We will be right back after this.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
This message is brought to you by the rebrand of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This publication may not be reposted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. NASCAR Camping World Ford F-150. NASCAR Xfinity Ford Mustang. NASCAR Cup Series Next Gen Ford Mustang. Arca Menards. This has been the publication of the redesign and rebranding of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This message may not be reposted, republicated, or rebroadcasted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. Thank you, and thanks for your time.
Boundless makes its presence felt. It will not be ignored. We're helping turn ideas into reality with a wealth of building products that take every architectural style to the next level. This is what it's like to imagine, build, and transform anything we want into exactly what we seek. This is what it means to be boundless.
Ready to go. Qualifying is on the move here in Laguna Seca. Welcome back to coverage on Virtual2Reality TV, presented by FTN Broadcasting. You're watching the Skip Barber Racing GT3 Challenge, and we're about to get on the move in just a few moments' time. It is go time for qualifying heat racing. We're going to see 5 heats, 2 consolations to make up your 30-driver field. Let's take that look downstairs now as qualifying times have been taken. So far, currently at the top of the board, you are going to see Michael Polisek is going to be leading, and then you're going to have a few familiar faces from there, including Tyler King and a few more drivers who you might have just seen join in, including Will Salisbury, Rafael Leon, and as they're taking times, we are in the tenths of a second margin for error here. Currently leading with a 112.11. That's Michael Polisek. Rest of the field has not been able to catch up just yet. Still some time for them to do so, but Polisek is king. Trenton McMillian gets up inside the top 10. Currently, Theodore Searcy, you're seeing right here in the 39, he is in 25th. Drivers, again, will be identified not by number, but by team tonight. Their numbers are designated based on how they qualify qualified with respect to all their competition. So tonight, when you take a look at someone like Theodore, you'll know he was one of the final qualifiers based on his number, compared to someone like Nate Olson, who you're seeing on the track right now for the Sim Racing Chicago Enterprise. He was the third quickest qualifier overall. His teammate Matt Busa was the first quickest overall. So drivers are going to be represented mainly by their team tonight, and they all have, for the most part, very similar paint schemes. Sim Racing Chicago, black, silver, gold. Then from there, you have a few other teams doing things different. Right now, you're looking at Jordan Johnson and the eclectic paint schemes of Sendit Sim Racing. Sendit did a wonderful job as one of the smaller teams last time around. Their participation has increased significantly tonight, so you'll see a little bit more of the Sendit look all night long. They might be one of the best teams to look out for when it comes to strength and numbers as well as speed. Matt Busa, mind you, he has won one of our prizes already. He's won a Skip Barber Racing School one-day scholarship. He's a driver who was bad fast last time around in Watkins Glen. Unfortunately, he got involved in that main incident, which took out 4 competitors and allowed for Oasis Sim Racing to come away with an underdog win. Jordan Johnson jumps up to the top of the charts, 122.066 for the Sendit Sim Racing driver, but he is not done yet. Brendan Graisley, mid-20s. Johnson all the way up in front, taking it down the corkscrew and keeping it in control. Watkins Glen we call the super speedway perhaps of road course racing. Not the same here. Watkins Glen, it's its challenge in its own right to stay fast. Laguna Seca is an outright challenge. Jordan Johnson slowing down and puttering in the final few seconds of this run. Paul Darling for Super Lap gonna park the car. Dakota Fripp for the Circuit Sim Racing Enterprise, one of the few Audis on the track, 5th place. Russell Soto, looking to improve, is currently in 6th here, and Super Lap has sent some of the most drivers we've ever seen in one of these events. When it comes down to quantity, they surely have it. 6 drivers for the Super Lap team, and all of which in the bright white colors. Pink accent for Russell Soto, looking for more luck than last time. Freddie Toth gets up into 22nd. Andrew Davis, 32nd. And 41st now is going to be Seb Titkemeyer. He is in the 1-1-12 tonight, one of the late entries. We'll discuss more about our final few drivers to join in. Russell, though, looks strong and gets up into 7th place. Nate Olson, now on his 2nd and final lap, might be able to move up to the pole if this lap holds out. But it looks like he's going to decide to back off. Nate will take it off the gas pedal, and it'll be then this Mercedes, the brand new driver for Super Lap, now on the move, and it looks like almost a silver bullet Mercedes in the 1-1-12 for Drive Sims tonight, rather than Super Lap. Looks like a late swap for this team. For all viewers at home, if you want to participate in tonight's fun, there is a way to do so. Attached at the pin of our chat room, there's a way you can fill out your box for who will come away in the top 6. If you go 6 for 6, you're entered to win and may very well receive a $50 iRacing gift card courtesy of us at Virtual2Reality.tv. So if you're confident in your picks and you think your drivers are going to win, fill out your box, post it on Facebook, tag us at Virtual2Reality.tv. We'll look it over, review it, and if you got the drivers correct, well, congratulations, $50 iRacing gift card. It may just be yours. It will be a random drawing if multiple people, of course, get it correct, but that's very unlikely. To pick 6 drivers out of this crop of 40 plus not only requires that your drivers make it up to the main event, but also requires that they get away from the early chaos, something that cannot be predicted. And right now, Titkemeier's 41st, which means most likely going to be at the back of whichever stint, whatever, of course, sprint feature will have a 5 this team is going to be put into. So Drive Sim's going to see some drivers up in front and in the back. Currently, pole sitter going to be Jordan Johnson for Send It, and with 30 seconds to go on the clock, very unlikely that will change. Holden Henderson, we're looking out for Jordan Johnson, and right now, Jordan's all the way to the top of the charts with reason to be confident. Looks like this is one of the drivers to beat tonight. Jordan Johnson, watch out for this number 2. 10 seconds left now in our qualifying session, and it looks like it is official. While Dakota Fripp gets up inside the top 10, Jordan Johnson will be your pole sitter for Heat 1 and will take the field to the green flag for the first time tonight. Qualifying has concluded, and now for the first time in Laguna Seca tonight, we move on to some racing action. action. Quiet track for the first time tonight. We have 5 heats, so they're not going to be long. We have a lot of time to get them done. 10 minutes a pop for 7 laps. It's just enough if drivers keep it clean and green. And now they're taken to the starting grid for the first time tonight. Not going to be the biggest of starting grids, and they won't be starting at the start-finish line, but instead, they'll be starting coming down from the corkscrew. There's Dakota Fripp, who won the $50 Vista Ford prize last month for the Watkins Glen feature, racing again for Circuit Sim Racing. And tonight, Dakota going to be starting in the front row of heat number 1. Let's walk through your starting grid for this feature. It's going to be Jordan Johnson on the pole position for Ascended Sim Racing in New York. Then you got Dakota Fripp in the second spot. Dakota going to be with Circuit Sim Racing, and they're going to be coming out of Woodland Hills, California. This is a home race for Dakota, hoping to see some good success out of the 5 team. Connor Clifford, teammate with Dakota Fripp, starts 3rd. Samuel Scott, new driver for Super Lap, going to be 4th. Joshua Voigt, Grid Lounge, a new competitor. He's going to be starting P5. John Bwalski in 6th, going to be with the Flying Lap. Vanden Henderson, Ascended Sim Racing, 1st and 7th on the grid with Joseph Camel, another New Yorker, going to be P8, and Sven Tichtemeier, 2 Drive Sims. Last second change, and it'll be one of our last drivers, starting last in heat number 1. Johnson making it around the first 90-degree corner, and Gay Ray to welcome the field to the hills of Monterey, California. From Salinas in the United States, we're back racing coast to coast. The GT3 Challenge has begun, and Heat 1 sees Jordan Johnson get away with the race lead. Opening turn, you're going to see some shuffling and some movement. One driver loose, looks to be Joseph Camel for Skip Barber, and the Barber team that came away with the podium last season. Of course, they're coming back again with multiple drivers. Camel, their new driver, now back in last, 9th place. Jordan Johnson, meanwhile, is going to have the race lead. Connor Clifford gets up to 2nd. Dakota Fripp is going to be P3. A lot of time until we get to this main event. This is your first, of course, attempt for every driver, which get to the feature. However, this is their, of course, first of 2 chances. Not their only chance to make it to the last event. They do have an opportunity in 1 of 2 last chance qualifiers. So, Jordan Johnson going to try to make his way through here, just get away from the pack. His teammate is going to be a little bit further behind, though, in Vanden Henderson. Vanden is in 5th. To make it up and lock yourself into that main event, you got to get up to the top 3. So, keep that in mind. We will also have no cautions tonight. Local yellow flags on only. No chance to see a full caution wave. That means that no matter what happens here tonight, these drivers are going full on. And an incident, especially like what you saw there for Joseph Camel, is detrimental. Very likely, this number 15 for Skip Barber has to go all the way back to the C-Main, which will be your first last chance qualifier attempt. For the Camel crew, bad news early. Looks like Tichtemeier going to be further back as well in 8th. Jabłowski is going to be 7th right now, and it looks like the number 33 not far out of range. The battle, though, really begins when you look at Dakota Fripp and Joshua Voigt. Joshua racing for the brand new team here in V2R competition. That is Grid Lounge, coming in with the very sleek black and white coloring. They're looking to have something to prove tonight. Grid Lounge, definitely a team that's proven competent in qualifying, and tonight they're looking to show it's more than just the hot lap speed. Coming out of Cedar Falls, Iowa, they're part of the middle of the country, maybe not too accustomed to Laguna Seca out here in California, but it's proven so far to be 4th, which maybe Dakota Fripp has something to look for in the back end. Coming through the carousel, very close quarters, but not with the drivers, more so with the track. It's a tight section and the elevation is massive. Can't afford to make a mistake through there. And luckily, no driver does, so we keep going in one piece. Sam Scott for Super Lap, going to be the first Super Lap driver to get a taste of the track here and getting the reps in before anyone else does. Not the easiest task, and it looks like making a little bit of a mistake there, but a lot of team support to come with. So even if this isn't an immediate success for the Samuel Scott crew, could prove to be something major for this team as the night goes on. Again, if you got your picks for tonight's race already locked in, make sure to check out the description and the chat room pinned comment, because if you do so, you can fill out your top 6 and perhaps enter yourself in for a $50 prize. Connor Clifford weaving and bobbing there with Dakota Fripp, and it looks like Connor Clifford here ever so slightly put into disadvantage as his teammate goes by. Riding on board with Clifford, you're going to see now on the uphill, Dakota Fripp is getting away. Fripp, a veteran of the V2R event scene, was here last month, and now it looks like that experience is showing. Circuit Sim Racing, 2nd and 3rd right now. Joshua Voigt is in 4th still, and with that minor slip-up between both drivers, looks like they're all going to be fine, but that definitely could have been significantly dicier here, as Joshua is going to get away, as does Connor Clifford, still with no shuffling in position. Bondon Henderson runs in 5th, Sam Scott 4th, John Bawalski 7th. All of these drivers are in a relative vicinity of your leader of about 5 to 6 seconds. Everyone else, too far back to consider right now. Camel is not in last any longer. Joseph actually makes it up to P8, and it looks like Sven is going to be all the way back 9th and last. Jordan Johnson, Send It Sim Racing are looking to lead the way to open up this race and this heat. A very impressive outcome and effort for Jordan Johnson and company as the number 2 leads 4 laps in, coming to what will be 3 laps to go next time by. Talk a little bit more about Laguna Seca here. You might not recognize the track all too well from sports car racing. You might best know it for IndyCar action. The Grand Prix of Monterey has become an iconic event. The fastest ever lap run at this track, a 1:05 by Alex Palou last year, 2023, in IndyCar competition. However, sports car racing and racing with some types of sports cars, we'll get to that in specific very soon, has been seen not only in traditional IMSA competition, but other forms of motorsport. The International Race of Champions used to come to this venue as early as the late 1970s, almost 50 years ago. And that was about a time where International Race of Champions was not made up of American cars like the Chevy Camaro. You have to go all the way back to someone like Connor Clifford. IROC used to be made up of Porsche 911s in its very first running. So you would see open wheel drivers, stock car drivers, endurance drivers all take on this track 50 years ago with the car that Connor Clifford has right now, some of which in very familiar paint schemes. Of course, IMSA has come to this circuit many a time before. On the West Coast, there are very few tracks that can compete with this venue. The SCCA National Championship has come here prior. The 8 Hours of California was held here from 2017 to 2019. Trans Am racing occurred as early as 1969 at this venue and is planning to return in 2025. And IMSA's been here since as early as 1957. Laguna Seca is a sports car venue, and for good reason. It's a 2.24 mile track, so it's really not that long as we come to now 3 laps to go, but it has heritage and it has character. The elevation profile is massive, and that's one of the things that really separates this track from everything else. Elevation of 180 feet across the circuit, coming in at about 55 meters in terms of course, the metric system. 180 feet is a massive change. The highest highs, and then you drop down the corkscrew right here to the lowest lows. It's a big drop down, and it's squirrely. Doesn't look too hard, but inside the cockpit really is a challenge, hard to manage at a high speed. These drivers nearly perfect to open up this race. No major faults or errors, and no battles for the bubble. Right now, Connor Clifford, though passed by his teammate, still looks to be comfortable to hang on for what's going to be position number 3, and most likely starting inside the top 15 in the main event. Jordan Johnson, though, with 2 laps to go, just has to hang on a little while longer to make it in as your pole sitter for tonight's GT3 Challenge. And in that, it's going to be a major advantage to come away with a $4,500 grand prize at the end of night. $4,500 to win. Massive. We saw last month it was north of $2,000. Prize pool has doubled and even gone a little bit more than that. $4,500 at stake for Jordan Johnson tonight, and he's looking to plant the seed for victory. Coming away with the victory right now would be a major advantage in that quest for the grand prize. Jordan leads by about 3 seconds. Works Racing 31 to the chat room. We were racing karts here at Laguna Seca just a few weeks ago. I can't imagine that was the full configuration. That would be huge, especially for cars of that nature. Although we've seen very small cars compete at Laguna Seca before. Another interesting iRacing story, we'll get to it in Heat 2, has to do with a Pontiac Solstice, an iRacing developer, and an eventual 2006 SCCA win. We'll get to that though next time by, as with 1 lap to go, Jordan Johnson takes the white flag and is hoping to bring Send It Sim Racing to an opening victory tonight here in the GT3 Challenge at Laguna Seca. Currently, Johnson is leading, and he has led each and every lap to this point. No problem so far getting up to the front of the field, qualifying pace, reason to be confident, and has proven time and time again he's had the pace. Now Johnson is looking to capitalize in the final moments of this event. Just has to stay clean. 2.6 second edge on Dakota Fripp, 5 seconds up next on, of course, Connor Clifford. And it looks like right now, Jordan's going to be good to go. Final battles will be Samuel Scott and Vanden Henderson. Right now, Scott is going to be just behind number 31, who is your pole sitter's teammate here, just hasn't been able to make the move. Going to the final run of the corkscrew. Looks like Henderson's going to have the advantage. Meanwhile, his teammates have already completed the descent. Jordan Johnson, seed number 2 coming in tonight. He's got himself the race lead, and a sprint victory means pole position in our overall feature. Coming to the checkered flag, Jordan Johnson and Send It Sim Racing cash in big on qualifying success. Johnson wins the overall pole position, and it is a massive achievement for Send It Sim Racing, as their flagship driver hopes to go for a $4,500 grand prize. Wonderful way to achieve the first step in that major goal. Johnson, P1, on the starting grid tonight. Jordan Johnson, your race winner. Dakota Fripp is going to come away second. Connor Clifford is in third. For the 112 team, it looks like one of many who's going down to our last chance qualifier. Sven's going to be 9th. Joseph Camel is in 8th. John Bawalski 7th. Sam Scott is going to be 6th. And it looks like from 4th on down, none of those drivers will make it in without the last chance consolation. Time to move on to heat number 2. 7 more laps of action, and tonight, few familiar faces in this heat as well. Michael Polasek, though, is a new driver with a new team looking to kick it off up in front. Polasek for Apex 1 is your pole sitter in the number 11 seed. Russell Soto, Super Lap, their second driver in the second heat. Number 12 tonight, pink accent for Russell, who's been here before. Tony Wynn is in the number 14 for the brand new One Line Racing Center. It's their first V2R event, and their driver starting on the transfer spot alongside Sim Racing Chicago in the number 4 spot. Multiple Sim Racing Chicago drivers tonight. Gavin Nakagawa is going to be in 5th, Jerron Davis is in 6th, and Andrew Davis is in 7th. Looks like Davis family 6th and 7th for fastest lap, with Richard Compton 3 fastest lap drives in this heat. Richard, the last of which, and Matt Busa are going to try and go from hard mode tonight, starting at the tail end of the field. Polasek for Apex 1, looking to prove that even the rookies of this competition have it in them to go out there and win. And if he gets away with this victory, it'll be outside pole position for the number 11. Green flags out. Michael Polasek is going to lead. 7-lap dash, and we've only just begun. Already some jumping out for the Sim Racing Chicago guys, as early in the turn 1, it's tight, and contact. 32 goes around spinning, bringing with them contact from the driver in Jerron Davis. Fastest lap, Sim Racing Chicago making early contact, bringing them back to 8th and 9th respectively, and a first-hand incident, first of the night, and a little bit of bumper rubbing into turn 1 goes wrong badly for both involved. Michael Polasek gets away, and Tony Wynn still stands on the transfer spot. It looked like the 32 trying to go on the outside there of Tony, and it didn't work. As such, we keep on racing after our first incident of the day. Very unfortunate one at that. Something you really do not like seeing is, of course, drivers going aggressive. But these heat races, they matter. The difference between one spot in these heats, it's going to be 5 spots because we have 5 heats. So it's a complete disorganization. If you're in first, well, right now, that's going to mean you're going to start up in second. But if you're all the way back 2 spots further, you're going to start in about 12th place. That's where Tony is right here. 3rd place might be a good thing. Of course, you're going to make it onto the race automatically, but it's not going to guarantee you a good qualifying position. Matt Busa's making some moves right now. This is the battle for the 4th position. Nakagawa is going to be on the inside. Busa is going to be down and in, and looking for some SRC redemption. Matt Busa sends it deep, and the number 1 will, at least tentatively, take the spot. Nice move there for Matt Busa. Going to be clean, keeping everything in check and trying not to replicate the error of going to the outside. I think the big problem for his teammate right there is using the outside groove does not help you. In most cases at Laguna Seca, you just have to find a way to force it to the inside and the apex of the corner. Why is that the case? In large part, it just comes down to working the banking, and it's an embanked circuit, both on-camber and off-camber corners, shall we say, and that makes it more challenging to figure out how to set yourself up. But as a driver, you should know one thing. Try to get to the apex whichever way the banking leans. The corkscrew is a perfect example. Switching from left and right with bankment at the same time, it takes a car off balance. It takes a driver off balance. And unfortunately, even when you go for one simple left turn or a right turn and you're on the outside, you're at the disadvantage no matter how far or how hard you fight it. Matt Busa is up to the 4th spot though, and Tony might have to look out as it looks like Win is in trouble for the One Line Racing Center team who have fought valiantly to get up in the front. That might change rather quick though. As it stands, it looks like number 3 spot is in jeopardy. Busa going from last in the field, maybe with a chance now to take the lead. And we say that because Russell Soto is only 1.7 seconds back on Michael Polasek, and it looks like Michael, while getting an advantage and getting away, isn't completely gone, like what we just saw in that previous event, in which, of course, major domination to get up to the pole sitting position. Jordan Johnson is going to be good to go to start up in front based on qualifying and his heat pace. Matt Busa is trying to go for a big recovery here, which means he's pretty sure he's going to be quicker than the drivers ahead of him. I mean, he started last in this heat, already up to 4th, and that's a pretty good sample of how the race is going to be. A lot of drivers who might have just gotten in who are brand new to sim racing, and then you've got the veterans. And right now, Matt's got to wait for a mistake. He can't expect to force the issue and have it work out well or positively. We saw how that went in Watkins Glen. Forcing it in the middle of a corner especially is detrimental. Last month in the main feature event, Matt Busa, his teammate, and 2 super lap drivers were caught up in the mayhem of the uphill section of Watkins Glen, going up the S's, contact between all 4 of which, and they were all destroyed at once. And when you go out in a massive wreck like that, it's very challenging to blame just one member of the competition. It just comes down to a multi-driver racing incident, which is the most tragic thing of all. Sometimes you just can't get away and problems persist. Tony right now, number 14, is going to find himself still in 3rd, but Matt Busa is keeping him right there, trying to hold down the pressure. Gerard and Andrew Davis are getting to each other. Gerard, despite the damage, looks to be a little bit quicker than Andrew here, and the number 10 is getting back up there, so the family ordeal still goes on. It's going to be 6th and 7th here, and Gerard going to be running in, of course, Porsche, and it looks like tonight Ferrari for Andrew as they race just alongside each other. Michael Polasek has admittedly gotten away, now 2 seconds up on Russell Soto and still driving out of sight. Still trying to find a move. Can't quite get there just yet. Matt Busa within a 1/4 of a second. If you take a look on board, you'll see how close it is. Now going to the final corner, Busa looked low ever so slightly, almost fakes the move, can't quite get the bait to go. And as such, you'll have to drive up the corner, a little bit less momentum into turn 1, and that incline will not help. Diving into turn 1 won't really do the trick either. 3 laps to go in heat 2. Busa has to be patient here. Getting up now inside of the top 3, it's going to be a big win for him. He came up with such speed to get to 4th, you might have wondered if he could get there even quicker to 3rd or 2nd. So far, Tony's done a good job defending, but it hasn't been good enough to get away from Matt Busa here. And that's where the problem begins. Matt is keeping Tony honest, and he certainly knows it. Going up the inclines, going down the ascents, the corkscrew might be the trickiest part for both of them because someone has to give and back off eventually. And it looks like right now Tony has the edge to decide who that will be. Going in, number 14 machine's going to have the edge through the corkscrew into the first left-handed turn. And Matt Busa getting a drive off the exit does look to stay nearly dead even on pace, but can't claw down the distance. Unfortunately, we're getting confirmation right now, number 32, Rodolfo Vargas. And right now, Vargas is going to find himself 8th with that front end damage as a result of the previous incident with Gerard Davis. Going to be 8th right now. Richard Compton runs in 9th in the fastest lap. It looks like BMW tonight, one of the drivers for the fastest lap crew, while not damaged. Compton having some trouble and far out of contention right now. Michael Polasek is going to be leading with 2 laps to go, and coming across the stripe up next, it will be 1 lap remaining. The final lap is coming near, and it'll be Michael Polasek, the 2nd straight driver to lead this race flag to flag. Looks like really no trouble for drivers when they start up front. That's the advantage, and it looks like it's very hard to lose it. Coming down to the descent from the corkscrew, it's time for the number course 11 to do it again. Michael Polasek is a brand new driver here in V2R competition, and he's done a wonderful job in this very first attempt. He's still got a lot to learn, of course, about the main feature, but getting up to the qualifying portion and doing this well in the heat sets a driver up much better than being involved in this battle. Matt Busa has given Tony Wynn an awful lot of time here, and it looks like now Wynn makes a mistake. Matt Busa around the outside of the corkscrew and making 2 wide stick. Busa slides in to 3rd place and now has a qualifying spot. Tony defending so well, but it looks like now Matt Busa just finds an error and gets up inside the transfer spot. Wonderful work there for Matt Busa. Take a look one more time. Instant replay at how Matt Busa got it done. And Tony just goes wide, no choice but to let the number 1 go by. 1 lap to go, and that was tight. Luckily, just enough room for everyone to get away. Michael Polasek, as such, still leads. He's got now a 3.5 second advantage. Huge edge right now, and it looks like it is only growing. Polasek is with Apex One, a brand new organization here in V2R racing. We talked about how they're new. Let's talk about where they're from, because Apex One is putting on a great show in only their first attempt. Another Northeastern club. They're coming at it Westfield, New Jersey, so a little bit closer to where Skip Barber or Ascendant Sim Racing is. So far, even though we're in California, the Northeast circuits have dominated. New York winning the first heat, and it looks like now New Jersey looking to take the second. Mike comes down out of the carousel and will make his way through from the corkscrew on to the checkered flag. Another victory taken from the pole of the heat. Michael Polasek is going to clinch with this victory, the outside pole position in your feature race, and come away with another big performance. Polasek leads flag to flag, winning the outside pole and taking the checkered flag in Heat 2. With them, immediately after, you're going to see Russell Soto. He comes away second, and Matt Busa takes away third from the rookie Tony Wynn. Busa for Sim Racing Chicago gets inside the podium. Busa's going to immediately park it. Gavin Nakagawa also going to be out, as is Tony Wynn for the time being. Andrew Davis is going to be 6th. It looks like you'll see Rodolfo Vargas 8th. Gerard Davis was in between. And Richard Compton will be the final driver to finish tonight as he makes his way to the checkered flag. So everyone gonna finish. It's our first incident of the day though. Unfortunately, we see the twists and turns give way to a little bit of trouble. Now we move on. Heat number 3. Paul Darling going to be on the pole position for this one. Let's talk about your new faces and names in tonight's third heat. Paul Darling going to be the leading man, and he's got super lap teammates right alongside the front row. Leading man, of course, going to be Paul up in front. You got him there in the number 6. Kevin Roll is going to be in second in the Chevy Camaro, both of which are running white and yellow, so identical paint schemes, different cars. Porsche and Paul Darling get the pole position. Jake Kreutz will be in third for One Line Racing Center, hoping to avenge teammate and win and hold on to third. Lee Martinez for Drive Sims will be starting tonight in fourth. Freddie Toth is going to be a P5 for fastest lap. Then you'll have Sim Racing Chicago and DeMarcus Rogers starting sixth. Malcolm Coates is going to be in seventh for RPM Rush, and Ricardo Loa comes in a Ford Mustang, the only blue Drive Sims car we've seen so far. Number 46 comes in Ford Oval Blue, 8th. Of all those in this heat, only 8 drivers in this attempt, so we're going to see still only 3 drivers make it. It's a small field, and it's still an even smaller transfer window. Having to be nearly perfect does, of course, make it a much bigger challenge over the course of 7 laps, but this first lap has proven to be the big difference so far in every one of our heats. Paul Darling gets away and will lead heat number 3. Now to see what happens in the mid-pack as drivers enter the first corners. It looks like 2 by 2, but overall, very little change as it's now side by side. A little bit of shuffling back and forth. Lee Martinez is going to maintain third, but a big mistake there from Kevin Rold. Rold uses the dirt, but might have just gotten a slowdown penalty. We'll see whether or not Kevin's going to back it down, as already battle for third is getting heated. Lee Martinez and Jake Kreutz at each other's necks so far, and it's now going to be 3 wide. Looking to the inside, take a look at DeMarcus Rogers. Marcus is going to beat and bang with the number 19. Now it's going to be on for 4th, and it looks like maybe 3rd place going to get away a little bit more so. DeMarcus Rogers hoping to do a little bit better than what we saw from Vargas there. Involved in that first incident, Matt Busa, the first Sim Racing Chicago driver to transfer on so far. Malcolm Coates going to be 8th. Ricardo Loa is now just ahead in 7th, so all drivers getting away pretty well, spread out by only about 6 seconds here in this first lap. Not seeing a lot of concerns for these drivers as they make it through their very first set. As it stands, 7 laps to go, coming across the line, make it 6. Good to see clean racing once again. Unfortunately, having perhaps a little bit of an outlier in that second heat. As it stands, of course, Paul Darling, Kevin Rold still first and second. And this is what it comes down to. When you lead the way with qualifying speed, very challenging to knock a driver down. And right now, it's proven to be qualifying track position. It's the difference maker. If you start up in front, your success will most likely stay with you. Jake Kreutz is going to be in 3rd right now, and Jake did not have the strongest of starts either. It just looks like getting away ever so slightly better through the first few corners compared to Lee Martinez was the difference, and he was fighting tooth and nail inside and outside row to get there, and it just barely works out. Two laps in out of 7, Jake Kreutz is 1.2 seconds ahead here of Lee Martinez. So if Martinez really wants any chance to get back up there, it's going to come down to being about as quick as Matt Busa was, which is not going to be easy. In all honesty, that's almost an impossible task. Matt Busa had a hard time getting up into the transfer spot and only did so because Wynn made a very late mistake. A mistake that was quite unexpected even given the circumstances and the pressure. Unfortunately, that does mean that for someone like Martinez or maybe someone a little bit further back, it's still going to be a major challenge to get into the mix. You'll see right now DeMarcus Rogers, while fast enough to get to P5, has not yet gotten up to Martinez, and Freddie Toth, who is chasing behind as well, while in 6th here, still looking to have about the same pace as Rogers up and ahead. We'll see if that stays the same, if it changes. Right now, though, qualifying speed has proven the biggest predictor of success. Paul Darling, Kevin Rold are still 1-2, and this is big for Superlap, of course, sending multiple drivers into the main event. So far, this would mean they would send a total of 3 drivers in of the 4 that have attempted to this point. Still 2 drivers left to take a chance from here. Further back, Freddie Toth still going to be battling with DeMarcus Rogers. As this battle rages on, they're going to go right under the corkscrew once again, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what we were due to mention, Laguna Seca and iRacing. It's a relationship that has existed for quite a while on the platform, going all the way back to 2007, March 2nd, 2007. That's where this story begins. iRacing, Laguna Seca announcing a partnership. The very first partnership, laser scanning the circuit, and most importantly, taking a look at the corner that we all know very well as the corkscrew. This operation started more than 15 years ago now, nearly 20 years back. According to Vice President at the time, Scott McKee of iRacing, the corkscrew is perhaps the most recognizable turn, or rather pair of turns, in the world, which goes to show the prestige not only Laguna Seca holds, but the attention to detail on the iRacing platform. At that time, the track was not called WeatherTech Raceway, but Laguna Seca Mazda Raceway. It's basically the same track. The only difference at that point was, of course, sponsorship. 50th anniversary was 2007 for the track as well, so iRacing coming in right as the track turned 50. And this scan of the platform, of course, has progressed over time, but it began with that basis in 2007, and Laguna Seca has been with this platform since day one. iRacing opening for public access in 2008, so drivers have been well accustomed to learning this track virtually ever since then. And that's the great thing about this experience for drivers in V2R competition. Some of them have been racing for nearly 15 years, some of which this might be their first chance to use iRacing at the competitive level. Someone like David Kreutz might have a different background than Kevin Rold or Paul Darling, and that means right now being put on this playing field, everyone's got their different backgrounds, but they've all come together for a reason. They're all very skilled at what they do here. It might inspire some more drivers to take on iRacing for the very first time, and this is the perfect time to do so. And there's one simple reason why. Discounts. Black Friday is coming to iRacing once again. 50% off all brand new memberships and 25% off all renewing memberships for current iRacing members. Early reactivations and renewals are accepted with 25% off discounts and 50% off for brand new drivers. If you want to start your sim racing career and someday get the behind the wheel access here in V2R racing, check out iRacing.com/Black Friday and all memberships at least 25% discount for the coming month of November. It's a great offer, and there's no better sim racing platform. Laguna Seca has been on the platform for a while, but so have more than 100 other tracks and more than 150 other cars, some of which, nearly 20 as a matter of fact, come free with your subscription. Laguna Seca is a free track, so if you want to get to practicing for the next event right now, you can do so at iRacing.com. Get your membership and join the fun today. Paul Darling has led a very clean heat. There hasn't been a lot to talk about, and for Paul, that's good. The big plus is his consistency has been remarkable. His fastest lap was a 1:22.606. His current lap time, 1:23.054. So not a lot has changed overall relative to when he started. Paul looks to be good to go to do this all day long, and that's a great attitude to have, and when you're that prepared, you might just be a race-winning favorite. Paul is going to be starting tonight's race in the 3rd spot, mind you. That's what you get, of course, as the 3rd heat winner. 4th heat winner starts in 4th. 5th heat winner will start in P5. So these heats are lining up the top 5 and the rest of the field. Although the rest of the field is going to be very far back and staggered, this heat looks very good to stay out of trouble and have really not bothered each other all too much. Jake Kreutz might be the MVP for the lap 1 defense, but otherwise we've seen drivers get into their own group, get into their own rhythm, and they've run that way ever since. With no option for a yellow flag all night long as well, you've got to be practically perfect at hitting your best marks to make it here and get into the main feature without having to go through the last chance qualifier. That is something that rookie Jake Kreutz has shown well, and he's keeping up with those super lap vets to the best of his ability. 1 lap to go as Paul Darling makes it down to the descent again. Final lap here in Heat 3, and this will clinch the 3rd position. If you got a favorite driver you'd like to root for in the chat room, make sure to let us know below. Subscribing to the Virtual2Reality TV YouTube channel means that you will have unlimited access to every chat room on the platform, which of course means all of our events, all of our videos, all of our social media content. We would love to hear from you. These broadcast chat rooms, they're not the same without you. So if you have a favorite driver, a favorite team and location, let us know. We'd love to shout them out, and all shout outs of course would go through the broadcast here. So Paul Darling, 2.7 seconds up on his teammate. Super Lap is going to come away with a 1-2 finish in this heat. They're doing a great job so far to wrap it up. Coming across the corkscrew, Kevin Rolled is right up next, and it's going to be white and yellow, the winning team and the winning colors in heat number 3. Paul Darling will get the job done in this stint. For 3rd place on the starting grid and a win in Heat 3, Paul Darling, the 3rd straight driver to go flag to flag and dominate. He will win tonight. It's 3rd heat. Kevin Roll will come behind him, and it'll be Jake Kreutz, last of which across the line. The rookie will be the first driver for One Line Racing Center to lock in to the main event, and One Line 3rd and 4th in these last 2 races. Looks like a new team to look out for. They might be small in numbers, but they've been strong so far. Lee Martinez going to come away 4th. You'll then have DeMarcus Rogers 5th. Freddie Toth is going to be in 6th. Malcolm Coates 7th. Ricardo Loa 8th and last. And so Heat 3 comes to a close. Time to move on. It's time for Heat 4. Sim Racing Chicago is going to be the leader of this one, and one of the strongest drivers from last month has come back again. Enter Nate Olson. He'll be alongside Rafael Leon, although currently Nate is taking a little while longer to get on the grid. You might not see him yet, but now you do. Nate Olson going to be starting heat number 4 with the pole position. Rafael Leon for race mode will be P2. Will Salisbury is going to be 3rd. Trenton McMillian will be 4th for Super Lap, and Send It Sim Racing has Jack Freeman. Brendan Graisley is going to be 6th for Drive Sims, and then you have just beyond Andreas Luna. Tucker Parrish going to be 8th, and it looks like last in this stint, as it's going to be Max Dwyer, the only driver not to start for Glacier Racing, who was the only driver for the Glacier Club. Unfortunately, it looks like Glacier is not here, and Max Dwyer will not be starting. Hopefully, we'll see him in the last chance qualifier, if anything. Nate Olson, Sim Racing Chicago, looking to bring another driver into the feature. Matt Boots has gotten in so far, and Olson now looks to be the 4th driver to lead all 7 laps. He'll take this first one by command and lead into the opening turn. Olson, Rafael Leon, and Salisbury already diving deep and putting some pressure now on Leon. This is the battle for 2nd, and they're fighting like it's the battle for the transfer. Salisbury not afraid to let the field know what he thinks, and already bringing that message up, although he doesn't make contact, I'm sure. Leon just ahead was not the happiest driver in the world after that one. Nevertheless, drivers are clean once again. Tucker Parrish is going to fall back on the field ever so slightly after trying to get up with Andreas Luna. Tucker, 8th place as it stands, dropping a little bit further behind than he'd like. Nevertheless, Andreas Luna right now going to be up in his 7th, and Parrish making another mistake, falling further back into the gravel and getting trapped there. So Not the best outcome, but Parrish still has a second chance coming up, so hopefully everything gets pulled back together then if time works out. Nate Olson going to be leading, Rafael Leon is going to be second, and Will Salisbury is now in third. Rafael is racing at the Race Mode Sim Center tonight, but that paint scheme is special, and you might notice doesn't just have one name on it, one logo on it, shall we say, and Sponsor Pack in the chat room has just put us on to that fact. The reason being, not only is Rafael Leon running for his team at Race Mode, the Sim Center, he also has himself a little bit of support from Sponsor Paddock, and that's something we would like to talk about tonight. Leon, number 13, is working with the Sponsor Paddock crew as well as those at Race Mode. Race Mode is going to be coming out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Sponsor Paddock, though, if you've been keeping track of the Virtual2Reality social medias, you might know about it already. Let's tell you now just a little bit more. Unleash your potential with Sponsor Paddock, boosting your gateway to top-tier sponsorships and connecting you to brands that boost your visibility and support your racing journey. Introduced by the Virtual2Reality team, if you want to learn a little bit more about Sponsor Paddock, of course, make sure to check them out. The phone number is on the screen right now, and you can check out the Virtual2Reality website and the Sponsor Paddock section for a little bit more exclusive details. Rafael Leon, great representative for the SP crew. He's right now running in second, and of course working with a great Sim Center in Race Mode. So far, he's in second. Race Mode is one of the new Sim Centers in V2R Racing. 3 drivers in tonight's race. 16 Sim Centers represented, and they're one of the many to send multiple cars. Rafael with 2 teammates who are coming up very soon, and it looks like right now top 3 remain the exact same. Will Salisbury will be another driver coming in, and it looks like Send It Sim Racing will have another driver locked in as they did before. This will be their second driver sent to the feature. Jack Freeman with some support running right now in 5th, and if Jack gets upside the top 3, he would be the 3rd Send It Sim Racing driver to make it. But right now, what stands in his way is his own teammate and Trenton McMillian. Trenton right now is comfortably in 4th. Trenton right now is 1 second back on Salisbury, 2 seconds ahead on Jack Freeman. So right now, Jack is at the disadvantage. Andreas Luna is going to be in 7th, and Brendan Graisley is going to be P6 here. It looks like the Drive Sims guys don't have a lot to go with right now. They're going to find themselves at the tail end of the pack, and they're doing a pretty good job so far just keeping things clean. But unfortunately, we say that as almost a consolation for the fact that right now, if you don't have track position, it's going to take a miracle to all of a sudden gain it. That's something that just does not happen. And right now, these drivers know it. Unfortunately, the best thing you can hope for is qualifying well in the last chance qualifier, which means that if you started in 4th, you're most likely to start up in front in the LCQ, and so on and so forth. So Trenton McMillian right now would be the 4th starter in the last chance qualifier, and someone like Jack Freeman would be a little bit further back, would start in the mid-10s. That's the difference, because you're looking at the heat system not only affecting the main, but the feature here. 4th heat does not have much an advantage, because you go down the order, still not absolutely ideal for Jack Freeman. There's still a second chance, and the window to get in from the C main and the B main, they work out, but it isn't perfect because there's 5 drivers that can get away from the qualifiers, the last chance qualifiers, but you're dealing with twice the amount of drivers. So are you in a better spot to race against maybe a less strong field with more drivers and more chances to come in, or are you better with a smaller field that might be stronger where there's less chances to enter? That's the problem. And if you're on the borderline like someone who's Trenton McMillian in 4th, I don't think you quite know the answer yourself. And that's not to say he's an unknowing driver or that he doesn't understand what the best thing to do for himself is, but it's very tricky to see, do you push right now and maybe make a fool out of yourself and lose all your track position, or do you settle, move on to the last chance qualifier, and most likely comfortably advance? That's a tricky dilemma to deal with. I don't think these drivers are quite yet aware of how to really progress correctly in that situation. So Trenton McMillian is coming up right now, and Will Salisbury, the gap is now 0.7 of a second. Maybe he's got no reason to quit now. The gap is continue to decrease. That time by, Trenton was faster by about 0.3 of a second on the dot. Will Salisbury ran a 1:23.752, and Trenton McMillan ran a 1:23.453. So it's clear now that McMillan is quicker, and with 3 laps to go, that is a pace that is not only good enough to catch, but to beat the number 7. Salisbury does have one thing that Trenton McMillan does not: track position. Even if he's quicker, it's going to take a lot to straight up bump him out of the way, even if he's got the pace. He's certainly making a lot more out of the second sector, especially the incline up to the corkscrew. The gap has gone from 0.6 of a second to now 4.5 just by getting up through the corkscrew segment. And now as they come down and decline again, Trenton might lose maybe 1/10 of a second, but the overall advantage he gets out of being smooth in Sector 2 is clear. Now back on the way to the final 90-degree corner and the front straightaway all over again in Monterey. McMillan's going to make it a very real fight very soon. Oasis Sim Racing saying hello and, of course, wishing all drivers good luck. Oasis, the winner of last month's competition, and we thank them for stopping by in the chat room, hopefully looking to see more Oasis drivers in the coming months inside the top of the charts here for our next races. We have a lot more events planned here at V2R, and this is really only just the beginning. So with 2 laps to go here, drivers also might be figuring out whether or not they're going to come back. You're working well, doing strong in these heats and qualifying events. There's no reason not to. Those main events, though, are where it gets really tricky no matter who you are. Trenton going to make a little bit of a mistake and brush off the road again, and it looks like that could be the difference now between getting up to Will Salisbury or not getting up there. He's got to be perfect from here, and all that good advantage that he got up through the opening segments of the last 2 laps with, it's gone. So now we'll see. Maybe Salisbury's going to lose it again, but it's going to take an awful lot because the gap is not 0.4, it's 0.7 once more. That's the gap Salisbury can play around with for the next few laps and not be too concerned. Nate Olson has once again done what every other pole sitter for the heats have done and quietly lead this race with no difficulty. 2 laps to go, going to be 1 lap to go, and he'll be the 4th straight pole sitter in a heat to win outright. This will be 4th place on the run, and it's going to be 4th place for the qualifying position, shall we say, in the main feature. Heat 4 corresponds to the highest position possible to start, and so Sim Racing Chicago will see 2 drivers starting inside of the top 10. Nate Olson will be one of which, and he'll be starting tonight inside the 4th spot. That just happens to be if he holds on for 2 more miles. Rafael Leon runs 2nd for race mode. Will Salisbury is there in 3rd, and it looks like Salisbury is going to be able to hang on here for Sended Sim Racing, and the team that has become oh so confident in their abilities as of recent for good reason. You're sending not only more drivers here, but drivers who are winning heats, qualifying in automatically. Sendit is looking strong so far and might have more reasons to continue believing in that operation as a whole. Will Salisbury's in 3rd, and he's going to stay there so long as Trenton McMillan doesn't make a massive dive. Andres Luna is going to be coming up on Brandon Graisley, and the 2 teammates here are still running in 6th and 7th. Tucker Parrish is going to be in 8th and last, as Olson is going to come away after a dominant heat, and he will pull through for another flag-to-flag victory. Heat 4 comes to a close, and its winner is Nate Olson, who will collect the checkered flag after leading from beginning to end. Olson will start 4th tonight outside of row number 2 and bring with them Rafael Leon and Will Salisbury to lock into your main race. Trenton McMillan, only 0.7 of a second behind, will go to the last chance qualifier, as does Jack Freeman, Brendan Graisley, and Andres Luna. Tucker Parrish is now going to come across the line. He will be the last driver to do so, completing this heat. The checkered flag is out, and Tucker Parrish, the last man to get by. So 1 race mode driver makes it, 1 does not. There's still 1 left waiting in heat number 5. 7 more laps here of heat action, and then we get going again. Tyler King is going to be the pole sitter, and King was rapid in Watkins Glen. He's already got a pole, of course, and a heat victory under his belt, ready to do it again. As the field comes together, 9 drivers scheduled for this heat. Tyler King going to be pole sitter in the Super Lap Chevy Camaro. Second time Super Lap has been on the pole. Last time they won and took second place as well. Dmitry Lukanov in his very first race is going to be here for the Flying Lap. Going to be P2 for Dmitry, and Jason Rappel for Grid Lounge will start in third. Nick Stathis took third in the Glen and is now back again for Skip Barber Racing. It'll be the number 27. 2 new drivers for the only Canadian venture in this calendar. We're seeing a brand new sim racing team come together, not going to be of American descent. It'll be Trax VR in Calgary, Alberta. Ethan and Shane Shyak, they'll be starting 5th and 6th. Theodore Searcy is in 7th, and Robert Cortez will be 8th and last for Drive Sims, who just pulled off the track, making it a 7-driver heat. Cortez gonna immediately disconnect from the session as soon as he started here, and as such, Tyler King's gonna get things going. Green flags out, pole position gonna be led again for Tyler King and the Super Lap crew. They're looking for their second heat victory of the 5 heats tonight. Jason Rappel, Lukanov, contact! That will send Rappel deep into the turn 1 barrier with massive damage. Rappel is gonna be basically out of this one, and he's already shot out of line. Robert Cortez goes down to pit road. Jason Rappel gets away, but you can see now track position and damage as a result of that first incident. Take a look back one more time at the chaos that transpires in your first restart. And it looks like Lukanov gonna send the number 111 seed, one of the new replacement drivers, Jason Rappel, into the barrier. Unfortunately for Jason, starting up in front, he's now going to find himself 7th and effectively out of contention in this heat already. Very bad news there for Jason. He'll get away, it looks like mostly unscathed despite the damage you can see, and he'll keep on going, maybe with the chances he just got by Theodore Searcy. Theodore just spun, and you'll take a quick look back and see just why. Looks like a simple mistake coming to the corkscrew, although it's the first time tonight the corkscrew has caught a driver out. It's a squirrely area. You do it wrong, you're going to end up slipping and sliding. Luckily, Theodore did not hit anything on the way in and out. That puts Theodore back in his 7th. Jason Rappel is now 6th, and a chaotic opening lap, and this time 2 incidents, although they were isolated. 2 drivers involved, and Dmitry Lukanov and of course Jason Rappel to start the lap, and then Theodore Searcy goes spinning. So 2 laps in, 6 laps to go. Dmitry Lukanov is your 3rd place driver here, so it looks like he's going to hang on despite being involved in that previous wreck, and we'll see if there's anything made of it as a call or whatnot. But unfortunately, I think that just came down to being an early racing incident, and drivers are so eager to use that first turn as an opportunity. These are the drivers who have watched every other heat, and they've seen already the first lap is when you get moves done. The rest of these laps, you ride around, you make sure you're clean, and you get to the end of the cycle. This lap, the previous lap rather, it matters the most in making change. Everything else matters in staying where you are and keeping your defense strong. So Lukanov maybe going to be a little bit more eager perhaps to defend himself, and as a result, he's going to keep on going, and as it stands, looks like Jason Rappel keeps moving 4th as well, 6.5 seconds back on the pack. So even with losing all that time, maybe gaining some on the drivers ahead. Last time through was a 136.98, and now coming around to end lap number 2, we'll see how quick Jason is relative to those ahead. 125.0, so still a little bit slower, but all things considered, still at pace above drivers like Searcy and Robert Cortez. Cortez going down a pit road to kick off the heat, and it looks like, unfortunately, that decision going to be the game ender for this number 43 team. One of the last drivers to make it in on qualifying seed, and as a result, Drive Sims going to see another Ford Mustang in early trouble. We'll see whether or not Drive Sims number 43 can maybe get up there in the last chance qualifier, but that looks to be the only chance that Robert will have. Nick Stathis came in as the 12th seed at Watkins Glen and eventually came away third in the main feature. Tonight, he's going to be 27th seed after qualifying from Laguna Seca, so all things considered, a very modest effort for a driver who has proven to be one of the better in previous V2R events. Now, maybe not one of the best in raw speed, but certainly one that works attrition well. Now Stathis finds himself on the bubble of making it into the main feature. Has to get by Lukanov, which has not been easy, and Ethan so far for the track's VR crew has gotten up to second. So a rookie runs in P2 and looks like leaving his teammate in Shane Shiak a little bit further behind. Three drivers are battling right now to stay inside the third place window. Ethan is ahead, Dmitry Lukanov is going to be in third, and Nick Stathis is fourth and only one spot behind. So not far back, but Nick Stathis wants to get that spot badly. Of course, wants to get it quickly here, but if Dmitry keeps on pulling away, of course, there's no way to reel him back in unless he gets punted or unless Dmitry slips up. But so far, on his own accord anyway, he hasn't done so. A little bit out of line there for Ethan going through the grass, but the 21st seed still holds on. So for Tyler King, winning this heat will guarantee starting inside the top 5, 5th place starting position in the race. Then you'll have Ethan, who's going to start P10 as a result. Then you'll have Dmitry Lukanov, 15th. Nick Stathis will be in, well, he won't be guaranteed just yet. You'll only have 15 guaranteed drivers, which means 25 will make the main. 5 drivers will come out of the C main. 5 drivers will make it out of the B main. So we're going to see a total of 25 drivers compared to the 20 last month at the Glen. A little bit more racing, a little bit longer feature perhaps with more drivers, but that's going to make it a lot more exciting to see how more drivers played out on what is somehow a smaller track. I don't know if you would consider Watkins Glen a bigger looking track than Laguna Seca. Laguna Seca looks big because it takes up the elevation and it takes up some massive corners, but the Glen in itself is a massive track. It just maybe sometimes doesn't seem that way given how quickly it's raced through. Its layout just happens to be one of the fastest in the world. That was a little bit of a stack up led by Dmitry Lukanov. Dmitry did a good job keeping it out of harm's way, a little bit of back bumper errors. Nick Stathis going to be 4th, Shane Shiak 5th. As long as it isn't a little bit of a stack up, you don't want to see the accordion effect. Looks like everyone was able to avoid that in that moment. Nick Stathis P4, then you have 5th place in Cheyenne. So Jason Rappel is going to be 6th and firmly out of position. Got Theodore Searcy, who's then 7th. These drivers right now, with a total of 3 laps to go, would need a miracle, as in they would need multiple drivers to fall out of the picture. And if that were to happen, it would be significantly unlikely, but it would likely happen in this bubble. Ethan hasn't gotten away just yet, and if the number 21 spun and in theory hit multiple drivers, you'd see it here. Stathis, pressure there from Cheyenne, doesn't work out, and it looks like the number 20 has to back off the fight, but that could have been a turnaround to tag Stathis. Nick gets away. Not by much, but now you're starting to see the pressure increase, as Nick's now going to try to go on against Dmitry Lukanov. Dmitry here now has to understand number 24 team is not fully locked in. Not compromised yet because Stathis is still behind, but if Nick gets a chance, he's most likely going to blow right through. It's aggression and it's all about using the room correctly. Take a ride on board right now at Stathis and you'll see exactly what is going on with the number 27. Inside the cockpit particularly gives a better view. Watch him work the gears. 4th gear right now, I'm going to move up to 5th. Drivers are going through 3 gears, going all the way down to 2nd, and it looks like a deep dive contact. Stathis sends Lukanov. Multi-car incident. Multiple drivers get away. Shine gets through. Lukanov, though, will get contact. And this time, he's not the hitter. He is the hit. That will move Nick Stathis up to 2nd. Lukanov is in P3, and Ethan got contact as well. Now he'll have to drive through his teammate for a chance. White flag, 1 lap to go. Oh, this is spicy now. Nick Stathis gets away. Teammates will have to fight for 3rd. And you saw it right there. Take a little bit further back and you'll see the cause. And punting in, 3 cars contact. And a chain reaction brings Stathis up in front. Ethan surely going to lose a lot more from that than what we saw. Looks like mostly cosmetic damage, but now behind his teammate, track position is pivotal. And to make up 0.8 of a second from behind with 1 lap, not going to be easy. And now Shine's going to have a chance ahead of his teammate Ethan to pull away for P3. Nick Stathis has gotten away from the rest of the field, save for Tyler King. Oh, while a second place battle has been oh so intense, your leader Tyler King has pulled through with ease. Through the corkscrew one final time, Ethan maybe trying to dive deep to get up to his teammate. Can't quite work it. Tyler King will be the second super lap driver to win a heat tonight. 5th and last heat, Super Lap wins 2 of them. Checkered flag will fly and Super Lap will automatically advance 3 drivers into their main event. Tyler King wins, Nick Stathis will come across the line, and it will be the number 27 away in second in what was quite the controversial moment between he, Dmitry Lukanov, and Ethan. Shane Chiak fills out the grid of locked-in drivers, 3rd place in the number 20. Lukanov 4th, Ethan 5th. Jason Rappel is in 6th. Theodore Searcy will be coming around the line now, the final of the race mode drivers in 7th, and he's going to join one of his teammates in the last chance qualifiers. Robert Cortez will be 8th and last. Cortez, the only driver still going here for Drive Sims, and it looks like Tyler King does it again. The team support, I think that's been the big thing. You don't see the drivers as teammates really in the same lobby together for the most part. We saw Fastest Lap had 3 drivers together. It didn't work out. None of them made it in automatically. However, when you have teammates in other heats telling you what to do just on the opening jump, that's where the difference is made. So, it's time to move on, and it is C-Main time, which means it's another heat. 7 laps, 5 drivers make it in. This is your first of 2. Freddie Toth going to be one of the first drivers, and we mentioned he's one of those for fastest lap. So, last chance qualifier number 1. It's going to be Joshua Voigt on the pole position. Grid Lounge, who's had speed all night long. Well, tonight, unfortunately, their guys are going to have to head to the last chance qualifiers. It's going to be Joshua Voigt who has himself on the pole position. Lee Martinez is then going to be in 2nd. Dmitry Lukanov will be P3. 4th place, Gavin Nakagawa. You'll have 5th in Jack Freeman. Sam Scott is going to be in 6th. Freddie Toth is going to be in 7th. Jason Rappel will be 8th. Gerard Davis is 9th. You'll have Brendan Graisley in 10th. Joe Kamel is in 11th. Ricardo Loa is 12th. Robert Cortez, P13, and it'll be Richard Compton, 14th and last, as the entirety of this pack, who is all put together from those who didn't advance before, have a chance to do it again. Joshua Voigt will lead the way, looking to be the 6th driver to win a flag-to-flag heat, and he's got quite the field behind him. Voigt gets through. As for the rest of them, it's dicey, but everyone looks to be clean so far. No rough and tumble racing so far. Everyone going to be remarkably clean in this opening lap, and this is the most drivers that we've seen on the track at once. This is not an easy position to be in because we've only seen about 7, 8, 9 drivers put together at the same time. So to nearly double that figure with no practice, it's tricky for all drivers here. There's Sam Scott going down to the inside with Jason Rappel. Gavin Nakagawa is going to get inside the top 5, and Gavin currently holds the transfer spot. He's going to change that though. Jack Freeman now fades back to 5th, and coming right through the corkscrew once again, Gavin's unfortunately going to lose a lot of speed and maybe some confidence there, wiggling through the corkscrew and keeping it just all right enough to not fall into the clutches of Freddie Toth. And And since there's so many of our sim racing centers represented in this last chance qualifier, we'd like to take some time to thank all of those who are involved in tonight's event, which include, from top to bottom here based on location, Gripworks Racing in Redmond, Washington, Sim Racing Chicago and Algonquin, Illinois, Springfield, Missouri's Flying Lap, Getzville, New York's Send It Sim Racing, Berkley, Michigan's Super Lap, Long Island, New York's Skip Barber Racing Center, Woodland Hills, California, Circuit Sim Racing, Drive Sims in Concord, California. You got Kalispell, Montana, Sim Race Glacier, Calgary, Alberta, Trax VR, Winston Salem, North Carolina's Race Mode, Manassas, Virginia, RPM Rush, Cedar Falls, Iowa, Grid Lounge, and Apex One, Westfield, New Jersey, One Line Racing Center, Austin, Texas. A lot of them are still in this event, and Lee Martinez, running for Drive Sims right now, looking to be one of their drivers to make it in. Not a lot of success so far for Drive Sims in the heat races, but this could be turned around, could be changed with one good performance in this last chance qualifier. And so far, it looks like Lee Martinez might be doing exactly that, changing the picture here for the team, who so far have done a pretty good job of just being solid. And being solid doesn't necessarily help when you need to be a top 3 finisher, or you need to win the heat. Top 5, maybe you can stand for just being all right. Gavin Nakagawa goes around from the transfer spot, and that will knock Nakagawa out. Gavin is now going to be crab walking it through the final corner. He's going to block the fastest lap driver of Richard Compton, and Gavin Nakagawa will see his hopes for a $4,500 championship prize go up in smoke. Nakagawa is wiggling, and it looks like that will be it. Gavin's going to fall out of the picture, and he's going to be the first driver to retire. And you're going to take a look a little bit further back and see just why it happened here. Here's the, once again, limp out of the final segment, and Nakagawa went under Jack Freeman. Oh, he went up on the curb. It didn't look like contact with Jack Freeman, but it looked like contact with the sausage curb. And if you take a look at it again, that's what it was. The Nakagawa car was lifted in the air by the red sausage curb. It gets him loose. He bounces out onto the track. Oh, and he gets hit that way. I don't know if Freeman ran him out of room, but Gavin Nakagawa may be using too much of the curb, and that is the cost of it. That is horrible for the Nakagawa team, who are now on pit road. Gavin's going to be basically out of the picture. Joshua Voigt is going to lead the way. Lee Martinez is in second. Dmitry Lukanov, P3. And Jack Freeman is in fourth as it stands, which means Freddie Toth rounds out the top 5, although Freddie's got Sam Scott to deal with. We'll see if Sam can deal with Fred, or vice versa. Now Gerard Davis goes down to the inside, and he's going to make the move on that hot lap machine. And there we go. Now Gerard gets up P6. Freddie Toth needs to have a little bit more assistance here, and that he gets. Fastest lap teammates run P5 and P6 here. But in a few laps time, even as little as 2, I think it's going to become less about teammate help and every driver for themselves. No matter who you are here, no matter what paint scheme you're running, that is not going to matter on the final lap. Now Gerard Davis might be a little bit preferable behind someone like Freddie Toth, but it does not mean in the slightest it's the best spot to be in. Nakagawa, by the way, should get a second chance at it. The reason being is that we're going to have 2 last chance constellations. The C main is going to take 5 drivers. The B main will take 5 drivers. So the 5 drivers who get out of this heat will simply be taken out of the lineup. And we'll have a 9-driver heat once again, composed of 7 more laps to figure out who exactly is worthy of going all the way. And that will be figured out very soon, as you'll see. Now, coming up, Lee Martinez looking at Joshua Voigt for the race lead, and this would be the first lead change all night long. Something we haven't seen from the beginning to the end of this one. And isn't that a little bit surprising? Either way, now if anyone's going to put the pressure on, it will be Lee Martinez in the number 19, looking to get the job done, be the first driver to contend for a race lead change. Lee Martinez right now comfortably holding the wheel just behind. 0.3 of a second is the gap. That time through, Martinez was quicker, ran a lap time at 1:23.912. That time by Joshua Voigt ran a 1:24.304. So Josh looked to be slightly slower that time around. Might not be a significant margin, but when you think about those tenths of a second adding up, that could be the difference between making it in and losing if you're a driver in the transfer spot bubble. However, right now that bubble is not all too intense. Freddie Toth, having his fastest lap teammate behind him in Gerard Davis, might have a reason to calm down at least temporarily, but we've seen that doesn't always hold out to be the case. Jason Rappel is also watching now for the Grid Lounge crew, and Grid Lounge starting strong in this last chance qualifier, maybe slipping up as a result of the early tension, and now coming back when the going gets a little bit rougher. Not going to be easy to get by two teammates, and two teammates who are so close on track at that. But if there's any way Jason's going to comfortably make it through the C main to your main feature, he's going to have to do what might be the unthinkable and break the fastest lap blockade, which lies only just a few tenths of a second ahead. Not easy, but it could just work out. Jack Freeman right now is going to be in the 4th spot. 3rd place, Dmitry Lukanov. Lee Martinez is there in 2nd, and it looks like Lee right now is still hanging on ever so slightly to the spot he's got. 2nd place, but he could be able to dive in for the lead. That he does. Lee Martinez to the inside, and it looks like Joshua Voigt sent up the gravel. They're door banging for the lead. This could cost them a transfer. Meanwhile, Lukanov with the best seat in the house is still watching. Up the track they go. 3 wide for the race lead. Lukanov gets it. Dmitry Lukanov to the point, and he does so just by avoiding the madness. And that's the difference between fighting for the transfer spot and fighting for the win. At some point, you just gotta give, and that's gonna cost both drivers multiple positions. Dmitry Lukanov now gonna have himself the top spot. Oh no! Jack Freeman and Joshua Voigt go into each other. Voigt goes spinning. Jack Freeman now might be in trouble, but I think that just comes from the onslaught with them. 1 lap to go here. Take a look at this. Another incident, and Voigt, he caught the sausage curb, and Jack Freeman, for the 2nd time, is the driver right by the sausage curbs when another driver gets loose. Joshua Voigt, he's going to make the same mistake Nakagawa did, and he'll have to go to that B main, unfortunately. All the while, Dmitry Lukanov will find himself as the leader. Lukanov had that early struggle involving the incident on lap 1, in which we thought maybe the race would be over for Lukanov right there. Then he was involved in the incident with Nick Status where he was sent. Now Lukanov is going to have a chance to win this last chance qualifier. For the first time all night long, the number 24 is going to be the leader, and he's the only leader that did not start at the pole position in his respective event. In 40-plus laps of racing, Lukanov will be the first driver to break through that boundary and prove that yes, you can, even if you don't start up in front. Dmitry Lukanov has not had a remarkably easy path to victory, but for the flying lap, at long last, they will see victory lane at least once. Checkered flag is going to fly. Lukanov is going to win. Lee Martinez takes 2nd for Drive Sims, and Send It Sim Racing sends another to the main, their 3rd driver, Jack Freeman. Freddie Toth comes away 4th. Jason Rappel got by Gerard Davis. Grid Lounge, the brand new team, sends Rappel. Davis finishes 6th and should not make it in this run. B-Main is coming, and that means that he gets another chance, but Gerard Davis is the first driver mathematically out from C-Main competition. What a finish. A 3-wide maneuver for the race lead. Dmitry Lukanov is the man of the hour just on that maneuver. Take a look back. We're going to run it back to his move for the race lead again and show you what it took to get it done. And those two drivers were working each other up the track. Lukanov right by. Fantastic effort there for Dmitry. Just comes down to keeping a cool head, and it looks like the number 24 did so better than anyone else. So, few new drivers going to get a chance. and it will be the last chance qualifier. The last chance qualifier. And to correct us here in the broadcast booth, Gerard Davis and company, they're out of this event. Tony Wynn will have the pole position, and he's hoping to be a lot more like the previous 5 drivers, not like the last one who started on pole. He would like to win this one outright. You got Trenton McMillan then in second. Vondon Henderson will be third. For Sendit Sim Racing again, Superlap and Sendit have really been the teams of this event. And then you've got Rodolfo Vargas. He's going to be starting in fourth. Then you'll have Ethan in fifth, Andrew Davis P6, Andres Luna in 7th, John Bowalski in 8th, Malcolm Coates P9, Theodore Searcy is in 10th, and then you'll have DeMarcus Rogers P11, Tucker Parrish 12th and last. Max Dwyer, Sven Tickemeyer will be the only 2 drivers not to start, and therefore they're going to relinquish their chance to make it into the main event automatically. Tony Wynn will have, of course, one final chance to be the pole sitter tonight. He did well in that first heat he was part of. It's the first heat that One Line Racing Center has been involved in. It was heat 2 of this event. Started in P3, finished 4th only by virtue of a miraculous Matt Busa run. Busa, the only driver to get it done under green for a transfer spot tonight. Besides the last chance qualifier, Tony Wynn hoping to hold history up one more time as he leads into turn 1. 7 more laps of heat racing tonight, and this will determine who makes the main feature. A little bit of dibbling and dabbling all the way in the back of the field, but reason to quit is absolutely non-existent. We get away clean, and now it's time to see who's left on the table. Rodolfo Vargas in that number 30, coming up on Ethan again. Ethan, he's going to be inside the transfer spot even if Vargas goes by, so this is not a detrimental race, even if he lets that number 30 through. Meanwhile, Andrew Davis cannot afford to lose any further. John Buwalski goes around, and the number 30 will go spinning. The 33 rather goes around, and it looks like for Buwalski, bad news very early, and this could be detrimental to his race. Take a look back and you'll see what happened here as Buwalski goes spinning in the corner of our screen, and it looks like just getting loose to begin with and hobbling through the straightaway up into sector 2, and then coming up on him the rest of the field tries to dive it in, contact with the 44 of Malcolm Coates, and then John Buwalski goes around. So, Buwalski's going to be 12th. Tony Wynn's going to be P1. Vondon Henderson is going to be second place right now, 2 laps in out of 7. Trenton McMillan's going to find himself in the 3rd spot, so he's not doing a half bad job himself. Doesn't have to worry about anything right now being in 3rd. Is that healthy medium. Might not be the outright race winner by any means. Might not be up and ahead of the field or anything of that sort. But he also does find himself ahead of Ethan. He also has himself ahead of Rodolfo Vargas and Andrew Davis, who's going to be the first driver trying to battle from the outside looking in. That's not going to be easy at all, but if Davis wants any chance to make it through and join his fastest lap teammates who are going to be at the back of the field, now he has to go for it and do it all over again. However, for Andrew Davis, that's not going to be a simple task. Maybe going to have to take advantage of something like the corkscrew, which proved to be pivotal in our last chance qualifier and heat number 5 as well. Making these more aggressive maneuvers comes at a cost, and I think right now tempers are going to be flaring, especially since this is the last chance qualifier. Short of making it to your main event, this last chance qualifier is the difference between whether or not you can make it. So drivers are, contact there for Andres Luna, and he goes right through the gravel. These sausage curves are nasty tonight. And that one, you saw him flying right through the air, and unfortunately for Luna, that's going to cost him multiple spots. And that time, no doubt, that was just a sausage curve. He might have just gone into the apex of the corner too deep, and that's a mistake we've seen commonly, but not often do we see without any extra driver pressure. It just looks like heading into the red and horrible hit up. And that goes to show, in all honesty, driver contact has been, yes, intense, but going into the curb is almost game over. If he went down and dove into the wall, that would have been his race no matter what. It's still going to be possible, yes, for Luna to make it in, but a mistake like that costs so much time, it proves nearly terminal just by having it occur. Nasty hit for Luna. Unfortunately, now he's going to be going through the corkscrew section and its descent once again very soon. But making that mistake is bad news from the jump. Right now, Rodolfo Vargas is still going to find himself fifth. Andrew Davis is in P6 here, trying to find a way maybe to keep on gaining, but that's not going to be easy. Malcolm Coates just made a mistake, slips up, goes down to 10th, and it looks like he's going to put himself back together, but a small mistake at that will keep on moving. Trent McMillian going to be having some support in the chat here from Pamela McMillian. Thank you for stopping by. Chris talking about Andres Luna. Unfortunately, yeah, Luna's one of those drivers caught up again by the red sausage curbs. Really a shame to see that impact again and again. There's no serious advantage, I would think, from putting the sausage at Laguna Seca. The gravel messes you up, and when you're set in the air, you're really out of control. That's not something a driver can really put back together. You're flying for a brief moment. You come back, you're all out of sorts. And unfortunately, that is a death sentence for a driver here tonight. When only 7 laps are allowed, you can't play with that time and really make it work out perfectly. So for Andres Luna, he's going to have to find a way. There might be a possibility of, finding that recovery to be realistic, but it's going to take also going through multiple drivers who are several seconds ahead. Holden Henderson looking here at Vanden Henderson. Vanden is going to be P3 now. Trenton McMillian did get by, but Vanden is going to be again a Sendit Sim Racing driver inside the top 3. Sendit has done a great job in putting these drivers in top 3 situations. Vanden Henderson, no exception. The team has been able to put Jack Freeman in the main event, pole sitter Jordan Johnson in the event, and Johnson might be the driver to lead that crew to victory overall, which would be a wonderful, not only appearance for this team, but for their flagship man. Johnson getting it done second in the open qualifying round, and fastest in practice today, fastest in qualifying today. He won his heat. Now pole position's what he has, and 25 laps are what separates him from potentially victory lane and $4,500. And it's great to also see the rest of his team coming in and bringing that support with good speed. Now, last chance qualifier drivers will not be starting at the front of the field, mind you. They'll be forced to start the tail end. But Vanden Henderson and company, if they get away from some mid-pack issues, might be able to make it up as high as the top 10, as we saw in Watkins Glen before. It's more than possible. Turn a back of the field start to a front of the field finish with the right strategy. Starting to see a little bit more of that pressure mounting here. Ethan in the number 21 getting that pressure from Rodolfo Vargas. Then you've got looks like a teammate battle if it's going to come to it. Now DeMarcus Rogers is in 6th. Sim Racing Chicago sees one of their drivers on the bubble. Malcolm Coates for RPM Rush has some trouble. Unfortunately for Malcolm, it looks like right now he's going to be in 11th, and another instance of just getting loose and sliding slowly away from the field. RPM Rush making their first ever appearance in V2R Racing, and for the Porsche 911 on your screen, 44th in qualifying. So one of the last drivers to make it in, but a valiant first effort so far from Malcolm, who finds himself P11. Wasn't able to do all too much in his heat, started and finished 7th, and finds himself in 11th right now. So even though it hasn't been the most fruitful of attempts in this race, he definitely has the pace to show up time and once more. So maybe in the future you'll see more of Malcolm, who's making his very first attempt and taking a chance to put himself up in the record books in the realm of sim racing history. P11, while Andres Luna is in 8th, and now it's going to be Sim Racing Chicago going at each other for 5th and 6th. 2 laps to go. That's what's left on the table here. Still going to be up and ahead. Rodolfo Vargas, advantageous over the number 11 team. That's going to be DeMarcus Rogers. DeMarcus Rogers coming through very soon here. As you can see, that number 11 team getting oh so close to the end of the line. But DeMarcus doesn't have time to mess around or make any other mistakes. Take a ride on board now with the number 11 team for Sim Racing Chicago. It's their 11th sim rig. It's DeMarcus Rogers in that paint scheme, of course, very similar to his teammate up ahead, and that's going to be Vargas. Vargas is in the number 30. The 32 is occupied by Rogers. 1 lap to go. Tony Wynn has the edge, and he's looking to come across the line here and win in Laguna Seca in just a few moments' time. This is the big train, and now it looks like Rogers is in the fight. SRC has to find a way around Ethan if they both want to make it through. So, 1 lap to go. Looks like SRC is going to have a chance here, just maybe, to bring 2 drivers in. Ethan's going to be P4, just a few moments away from locking himself in. Vanden Henderson's going to be 3rd, Ethan in 4th. Then you got the Sim Racing Chicago duo coming up on Ethan, but still not finding a way to go at it. 1 lap remaining. Here we go again, looking for a last chance opportunity, and Ethan might have a chance to just dive through. Does he put a punt in? No. Looks like no contact, nothing from Rodolfo Vargas, and the number 21 team might just be able to go all the way here without frustration or issue. Trenton McMillan's gonna find himself in P2, but it will be Tony Wynn, the 6th driver of 7 heats to win from the pole position. Tony and One Line Racing Center come to the checkered flag, winning in California for the final heat race of the night. You got Trenton McMillan 2nd, Vanden Henderson 3rd, Ethan, and it looks like at long last it will be Rodolfo Vargas, the final driver to make it. And so the checkered flag is going to fall. Vanden Henderson gets through, and it looks like Send It Sim Racing has sent another driver in. Checkered flag is going to fall on the B main. We have 5 minutes until your main feature here, and practice for the last time will be put into effect. Working into the last few moments of this race, trying to figure out exactly what's going on as drivers get their last chance to maybe make a few changes to their setup, make a few final adjustments here. Already, Par Darling's going to get on the track, Freddie Toth, as does Kevin Roll and Tyler King, all of which going to be making their way right around onto the circuit and entry pit road. Will Salisbury going to be running in a major pack here, and looks like Will doing a pretty good job staying just right with them. We talk about Send It Sim Racing a lot tonight, and we have a few extra reasons to do so. I'd like to thank our friends at Send It Sim Racing, of course, for coming out from Getzville, New York, but additionally, when it comes to our iRacing VIP membership sweepstakes, $3,000 retail value. We're giving one away tonight, and our giveaway victor has been awarded. And we're going to notify them right now. Tonight, the VIP membership will go to Send It Sim Racing's Rob Van Duzen. He will collect the VIP membership and be awarded a prize worth $3,000, complete with all of iRacing's current content, tracks and cars, everything in between. All that iRacing has to offer. I'd like to thank Rob for stopping by and participating in our sweepstakes, and of course, thanks Send It Sim Racing for their continued support. Rob Van Duzen winning your iRacing $3,000 membership prize tonight, an iRacing VIP membership composed of all of iRacing's wonderful content. Will Salisbury still going to be going here, one of the first drivers to take a time, has not been officially verified. However, 2 minutes and 55 seconds remain, and if you're just tuning in tonight, we've been talking about some iRacing news as the night's gone on. One very important thing you have to remember, it is holiday season, which means holiday discounts are in order. iRacing's Black Friday sale sees an opportunity to join the service at a 50% off discount. Renewals and early reactivations will call for a 25% off discount. discounts. So no matter who you are and how long you've been on iRacing, you have a chance to get yourself a renewal with up to hundreds of dollars discounted based on the plan you choose. Choose a 3, 6, 12, or 24-month membership, and you will be able to reap the benefits. 50% off all of iRacing for new members and 25% off of a subscription for those who are renewing. Make sure to visit iRacing.com/Black Friday and start your sim racing journey today. We'd love to have you on the track as well. A few moments before our main feature begins, last moments of practice will return after a brief message from our friends at iRacing.com.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
You're watching the Skip Barber Racing GT3 Challenge here at the WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. California's premier road course circuit has given us a load of excitement over 5 heats and 2 last chance qualifiers. Now we are moments away from entering your feature event, and you're watching live on Virtual2Reality TV, powered by FTN Broadcasting. Final practice is basically over. And one critical thing has already occurred in that Jordan Johnson and Nate Olson, they find themselves up to the top of the board again, 2nd and 3rd seeds here. And so far, they are on top with time to spare. Time until the main feature, that is, as we are ready now to move on. Checkered flag going to fall on final practice. And so we're moving on to our starting grid, working out the final kinks in the matter. So we will return in just a moment here as we're settling out our final grid, making sure every driver who's still with us here is due to participate, and whether or not some of them may not. So just a few moments before the green flag comes to pass, and it's time to get ready for your starting grid.
This message is brought to you by the rebrand of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This publication may not be reposted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. NASCAR Camping World Ford F-150. NASCAR Xfinity Ford Mustang. NASCAR Cup Series Next Gen Ford Mustang. Arca Menards. This has been the publication of the redesign and rebranding of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This message may not be reposted, republicated, or rebroadcasted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. Thank you, and thanks for your time.
Welcome back to the virtual Laguna Seca. A little bit of a delay on the circuit. Right now, drivers are going. However, this feature has been ever so slightly delayed as a result of some participation changes and some sim centers backing out of the event. Voluntarily anyhow, we do have to make a change. The race that you're watching right now, the main feature, will be delayed. Drivers are going, but have just been given word we'll be moving this session out of the qualifier session and move immediately forth into your main race. So the drivers who are in this event and locked in will be given a chance to go at it. It will be a 30-minute sprint feature as it was scheduled to be beforehand. However, unfortunately, we will take a few moments away from the racing once again. So drivers are going to be moving in just a few moments' time as the word has been given. Qualifying session, main session have been separated. So we will see exactly when they decide to move forth. In the meantime, we're going to take a look down low. However, what you're seeing right now will not be the main race. Word has been officially notified, and we may see drivers in the next coming laps back it down. We're hearing it will be a switch over to the next and main session for tonight's race. Jordan Johnson currently holds the race lead. So to clarify exactly what is going on here, for the drivers you're looking at right now, they will all be given the chance to swap over to the main race. What you're seeing right now will not end up being the main event. The reason being, a few drivers, unfortunately, will not be in it who did qualify in. So as a result, you're going to see them back it down slowly but surely. A few drivers have already disconnected, but when the main drivers do so, that's when it's going to be about time we know to switch into our main event session here. So drivers getting some practice, although many of them might just not know what's going on yet. This is not the feature race you're looking at. It's going to be a few moments away as drivers are now disconnecting. Many en masse now, so we're going to have to take a few moments, step back once again, and come back with you with some more updated footage in just a few minutes' time. We'll step away from the broadcast once more, and we'll return right after this. You are watching, once again, coverage from the virtual Laguna Seca WeatherTech Raceway. The Skip Barber GT3 Challenge has just begun, and your main features coming in a few minutes. We will return right after this, and we'll be back.
This message is brought to you by the rebrand of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This publication may not be reposted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. NASCAR Camping World Ford F-150. NASCAR Xfinity Ford Mustang. NASCAR Cup Series Next Gen Ford Mustang. Arca Menards. This has been the publication of the redesign and rebranding of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This message may not be reposted, republicated, or rebroadcasted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. Thank you, and thanks for your time.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Boundless makes its presence felt. It will not be ignored. We're helping turn ideas into reality with a wealth of building products that take every architectural style to the next level. This is what it's like to imagine, build, and transform anything we want into exactly what we seek. This is what it means to be boundless.
Welcome back to Laguna Seca. Practice has once again started up, and this time around it's going to be a little bit different as drivers once again return to the circuit. You're going to see right now, many of which are familiar faces and familiar names. The driver overlays, though, will be reset. We'll be working on them. This is not the same session, and as a result, same order hasn't really been retained. So we take a little bit of time here to figure things out in real time. You're watching a 30-minute practice session, so there's a little bit of time in between for things to get put together. Lee Martinez, one of those drivers who are looking at right now, and as it stands, since we have a little bit of time in between the feature and the race, let's get to look at each and every one of those drivers, including the Drive Sims number 7. This is going to be Lee Martinez here, so his number has changed. They're no longer going to be organized based on exactly how we put them in qualifying, but instead based on how they join the session. This is a hosted session, not a league session. The rules are a little bit different, and we're going to adapt to work around that. Grips Works has also returned. We haven't spoken much of them, and it looks like it's going to be Dimitri once again with that same very bright paint scheme. And right now, Gripworks looking strong. Second quickest team so far in this session. Luckily, we're going to have a chance to put them in alongside all the rest of the field tonight. We didn't speak all too much about the crew in Gripworks. It looks like they only sent one driver, but looks like now they're back with us once again. Ricardo Loa is going to be for Drive Sims, and once more, we've seen Ricardo tonight in that very notable blue Ford Mustang. He's with us here. It's a 30-minute sprint, and it looks like basically every driver will have a chance to go at it here and have a chance at victory lane. So, it's going to be Sven Titkemeyer, the number 2. Kevin Rold right now not on the circuit. Nick Stat is going to be the number 11. Very few drivers have gotten on, at least to this point. And then you got the sponsored paddock machine, the number 13 previously for race mode. Good to see having some of our very familiar paint schemes back in. Leon in the number 13 coming at us in that Ferrari. The overlay is going to take a little bit of time to put back together. Unfortunately, that's going to result from resetting the session. So as soon as every driver we have back in order again, we will provide you an access look at the overlays. Right now, unfortunately, drivers' numbers have been disorganized. We are working on that in real time. So, SimPod number 7, aka Leon, that's going to be that Ferrari you're looking at. Then you've got, well, number 17. Won that previous hint, of course, and it's going to be last chance qualifier winner, shall we say. Paul Wynn with us again, and Wynn's going to find himself in tonight. Now the number 9, so that's another change. Not too big of a change for Paul. Nevertheless, for One Line Racing Center, checkered flag, already seen it once. Now looking to clinch it once again. Number 9 team going to be working at it so far. One of those who's taking his first laps in the one-line car. Moving up into P7 right now with the timing sheets. Sended Sim Racing, one of their many, and good to see. Unfortunately, right now they are unnamed, so we're going to figure that out and fix that as we speak, the 00 for Sended Sim Racing, one of many. Jack Freeman going to be coming through. You remember Jordan Johnson, your pole sitter, is going to be at the front. I believe this is Vanden Henderson's car. If you take a close look at it, he's going to be driving now the 00. Drivers and manufacturers and teams are being organized, so that's the reason the overlay is not on the screen. As soon as that is changed, it's going to be on the screen. So hold on for just a moment and you will see all of your favorite drivers and teams come back to life, including Vanden Henderson. Then you got Freddie Toth. Freddie's now going to be in the number 8, and so a little bit of a change as well for Freddie Toth. Nevertheless, should be pretty simple to adapt to anyhow. Freddie going to be in the 8 now from the 35th seed early on. Got Zach Everman on the way. That's going to be one of the drivers for the Grid Lounge crew. And that's the owner's name, rather. Grid Lounge coming in, multi-car effort, and they're going to be marked as GL drivers, so we'll see what Grid Lounge can do. Once again, they came away pretty strong in that last chance qualifier, and the black and white team seems to have something that can go all the way from here. Maybe some persistence to make it to the end is all they need to maybe compete well in the next feature. So we went through the heats, we went through the qualifying, we know who should be in this and who should not be. So we have simmered down this pack just a bit to the point where yes, we know the bare minimum of who needs to be where, but qualifying is going to be reshuffled once more to give these drivers a better chance to go at one another and maybe figure out who's got the better pace for the next coming laps. Means we might see a little bit of a different order than even what we saw in practice and qualifying alike. It's going to be very simple, basic qualifying rather than the procedure we have seen beforehand. A lot of familiar drivers who have just not gotten onto the track just yet. Nick Stathis is one of which. He is in the number 11 now. Unfortunately, it looks like that's another number change. He's going to the 11 from 27. He was a seed that was much further back in previous competitions. So that's one change, and a major one. Unfortunately, it's going to be something that doesn't really affect him, but does affect the broadcast overlays, which means right now, waiting to put them on your screen. Matter of fact, we'll try to give you a look at them right now. More names and more data will come up as we speak, so you'll have to wait just a little bit, but you won't wait all too long. By the time we go feature racing, every name and number will be adjusted, accommodated, and taken care of. You're watching Virtual2Reality TV live on FTN, and unfortunately, well, we have a little bit of a break in between the action once again. Greatly appreciate you sticking around, though. It's wonderful to have you with the virtual Laguna Seca as we're taking a look at all drivers going around and setting their times, getting prepared for the racing that's yet to come. Connor Clifford is back with us, and it looks like a little bit of a spin right there from the number 12, and multiple drivers for One Line Racing back, and it's good to see the multi-car crews coming, even if, of course, took a little bit of time to get them. So, One Line Racing, both of their drivers going to be here. We're seeing multiple from Circuit Sim Racing so far. Joshua Voigt gets on the way. Voigt going to be here for Grid Lounge as well, so Grid Lounge with multiple drivers, and Joshua Voigt is indeed one of them. Black and white going to be seen multiple times on track, and Voigt racing with his own iRacing account means his name will show up on the graphics you see on your screen. And as you can see right now, here's the number 14. So as Joshua Voigt continues to get himself going, great to see another one of those veterans making it onto the track. Let's talk about someone else, maybe someone we haven't seen on the circuit just yet. Matt Busa has gotten going. Matt Busa running oh so strong for the Sim Racing Chicago guys. Well, now he's got a chance to not only continue that, but look for the race win. Maybe in an even better position. He locked himself into the main feature before we got into this circumstance. However, I think for Matt Busa, he might benefit from it more than anything else. As it stands, the Sim Racing Chicago team has a multiple drivers who could really go out there and win. You got to think about someone like maybe Nate Olson. Nate Olson is certainly a driver who I think every driver is going to consider a race-winning favorite if he gets that track position. Matt Busa, I would put him in the same category. And it looks like both of which have gone on track. Busa, now one of the fastest drivers on the circuit. Apex 1 seeing Michael Polasek up to the front of the field. He's going to be one of the quickest times yet again. Michael Polasek, he's now in the number 45, finds himself P4 on the timing sheet, bested only so far by Matt Busa and 2 other drivers, one of which running for Senate Sim Racing. It looks like that's going to be Brandon Johnson so far, and it looks like Circuit Sim Racing holds it up on top. Not a lot of drivers to best Busa or Polisek. They were both rapid fast, but another one just jumped up high. Enter Russell Soto. Russell Soto tonight going to be in the number 50, so that's going to be Superlap's driver, one of many Superlap drivers. Superlap is one of the enterprises in this series. They sent 6 drivers. They're bound to find, of course, victory in at least one of them. Not going to be easy to say which one of them is, and of course, they're not necessarily bound to win, but when you send 6 drivers in, the goal is to find at least one top 6. That's going to cost, of course, a lot if they don't, but it will be a big win for the drivers, several $100 at the minimum if they are to find a way to find at least one top 6 driver. Here's another one of Superlap's drivers, Trenton McMillian in the number 28. So far, it looks like Superlap has quite a lot of drivers they can just rely on to get up in front no matter what. Strength in numbers, they were able to win 2 heats, got through multiple drivers in those heats, and as a result now, less worry about what's going to happen in the main feature maybe. Qualifying is the big thing, and we now are about 13 minutes away from what is going to be a 15-minute qualifying session. So running a little bit longer than beforehand, just getting these drivers in, getting their reps in before the racing goes again. Senate Sim Racing now also has the number 44. Not what they had beforehand, but it looks like now with all their drivers put back together, it's going to be Jack Freeman, of course, Brandon Johnson. Then you had Vondon Henderson, all 3 of which are back, and they're all going to be running things a little bit different. Large part that comes just based on their numbers. So the 44 now gets on the way. Senate Sim Racing looking strong tonight, and they're going to continue that no matter what number they're running. Send it right now, finding themselves in the mid-teens so far in the timing sheet. That could change, and they definitely could improve, but it looks like right now it hasn't happened yet. Ricardo Loa's on the way. Robert Cortez has also gotten through. He's with Drive Sims tonight, so he's looking to go through. He's got his teammates in the numbers 2, 4, and 7, and he's in the number 3. So it looks like now all those numbers are quite close to each other, even though Drive Sims varied from some of the top 10 drivers to some of those barely making it inside of the top 40. So success varies. Either way, all those drivers are still here right now. Freddie Toth on the move. You got Connor Clifford going. Moreover, you got Samuel Scott, we haven't seen much of yet. Tyler King, nor Stathis, nor Nate Olson. Now we're seeing Sim Racing Chicago's number 12. That is going to be Rodolfo Vargas once again, and he's going to be running currently the number 22 now. So Vargas making his way in. You're also going to remember in the 11 seed, that was Rogers, so hopefully we're going to see both of which on the track once again. Still, that is yet to be determined. Now you're seeing Trax VR and our second driver. That's going to be Cheyenne once more. And then Ethan will be in the Trax VR 1 car. So Ethan has not yet gotten on the circuit. Looks like we might see a little bit more of him in the next coming laps. That currently has not happened. So we're still admittedly waiting on quite a few drivers here. Maybe some of them will show up in due time, some of them haven't yet, and as a result, a little bit of shuffling in between, allowing for the full field to come back together. Trax VR out of Calgary, Alberta, the only international enterprise to make it into this event, and they're sending 2 drivers, both of which were able to make their way into the main feature based on speed. So they shouldn't be all too concerned with what's next to come, in all honesty, as long as they can just execute well in qualifying. It shouldn't be a bloodbath for them being sent to the back of the field. They should be solid upper midfield contenders at the very least, and having that expectation for oneself is very solid and sometimes is absolutely necessary. Now you'll see both drivers. Here's the number 23, 24 is going to be Cheyenne, and then you have Ethan here in the 23, both of which right now are going to find themselves in vastly different positions. However, that's because they still haven't put any laps in, and they just went down for their first time respectively. Sim Racing Chicago's number 11 car has not yet gone through. Michael Polisek is still fastest. Russell Soto in the number 50. He finds himself another hot lap. How about we take a lap on board with the number 50 and get the sights and sounds inside the cockpit here in Laguna Seca. Right down the corkscrew once again. Now it looks like Russell's gonna finish this lap. Russell now finding himself another good one. His best lap of 122.46, previous to 128.75. Let's see if there's any major improvement this time around. Across the line there, 122.348. That was Russell's fastest lap by about 1/10 of a second. Moreover, Paul Darling going to put a good lap down. It's the number 25 machine as it stands. Not a bad run at all as Superlap's bright yellow Porsche brings it up to the front of the timing sheet. So Paul Darling, another one to watch out for, and it looks like he's putting himself in the forefront of attention with another good lap. And those good laps continuing to come are going to show you exactly who's worth watching. Nate Olson has not yet gotten on the track. Tyler King, however, has. And Tyler, he's a triple-digit threat now, according to the session. He's with Superlap. He'll be assigned to the number 428 now in your new session. And these drivers given assignments from iRacing based on number. And we're working on it in the broadcast booth right here, giving them the new assignment by team. Again, Superlap going to have many drivers here, and of course, one of their many is going to be, right now, Tyler King. John Buwalski is going to be with us in number 35. There's Robert Cortez. Sven Titkemeyer is going to be on the way. Ricardo Loa. And it looks like right now, Senate Sim Racing, one of their cars, the 44, down low. So is Dom Rogers. Joshua Voigt gets on the way, and it looks like he just passed right now number 7 of Lee Martinez. John Buwalski is going to be now running in the number 35, so we will hear from him in just a moment. Whenever his card turns on anyway, we'll surely hear him. We just haven't yet. Still got a lot of time until that point, unfortunately. He could take upwards of 15 minutes to get that thing going because it's not mandatory to go down and practice, nor is it even in qualifying. But if he's going to race with us, well, he's definitely going to be on the track before we get to that point. Hopefully, anyway. Some drivers have registered and unfortunately not gone out tonight, but very few have done that, and that's really not something we should expect to see as a big trend. Circuit Sim Racing's number 77 is leading at the front of the field here, and it looks like now all of a sudden they have an Audi to contend with. And I believe that is Dakota Fripp. Dakota, who was in the Vista Ford paint scheme last month, collecting that free oil change and a $50 gift card. Well, looks like tonight, changing allegiance entirely. Dakota's going to now find himself up and in front in P5 in this order, but with Circuit Sim Racing, a much different look back to their traditional colors. Here you have Senate Sim Racing, and now taking a look at the overlay cycle. If your favorite driver doesn't yet have a number or anything fully assigned, working on it as we speak, let us know. We're going to try to figure it out as soon as possible and put this broadcast in full order because the main race is coming up very soon. We don't want to miss a thing. Right now, it looks like most drivers should be pretty well put together and well assigned. Doesn't mean everyone is. Here's one exception, and it's another Senate sim racing driver. It looks like tonight they get the 0-3 as well. They're getting the lucky picks when it comes to interesting and different numbers. Previously, we didn't have any driver with a 0 in their number. That's going to change. And it looks like right now, Senate sim racing gets to lead that change. They'll get back on the way. Meanwhile, Kevin Rold keeps going. Kevin is going to be in the number 29 tonight in his now Chevy Camaro with, of course, the white and yellow accents. They've done a pretty good job so far. There's no doubt about that. And Superlap has a reason to believe yellow and white, good combination. It's gotten them a 1-2 finish in a heat. Maybe a 1-2 finish in this race is up for order. Kevin Rowe, one of the fastest drivers in Superlap, and he might have a chance to prove it again. Take a look a little bit further down the order. Then you're going to have Sim Racing once again. And it looks like multiple of their cars. Number 44 right there. Trenton McMillian getting things going. Trenton looking good. Lee Martinez as well. Then you got Circuit Sim Racing's Dakota Fripp. Connor Clifford. There's also Sven Titkemeyer. And a battle here, as it looks like now, might be a little bit of battle between Everman and just ahead, Titkemeyer, the number 10 and the number 2. There's Paul Darling getting things going, and Michael Polasek, the only Apex 1 driver at the field front. You got there Senate Sim Racing, then Sam Scott, and a little bit more from Senate, Kevin Rold, a little bit more as Russell Soto goes by. Pink, but with yellow tires, interestingly enough. So almost matching his teammates while doing something different. And of course, we got a one and only GripWorks driver, and that will be Dimitri in the number 6 here. Freddie Toth gets going, and it looks like he'll be on the inside of pit road. Robert Cortez and his teammate Ricardo Loa. And there, of course, is going to be One Line Racing's guys, including Win, who got through for the opening pole win anyway, got away for his opening last chance qualifier victory, did so by defying the odds and becoming the first driver to win off of the pole position. So here's Tyler King, got him on pit road. There's Titkemeyer, and a little bit more from the line on pit road. It's quite the big one at that right now, and you'll see all the way down the ladder. Now it looks like most drivers have been assigned their team. Good to see. Right now in the session, we have a total of 32 drivers registered, 30 that are going to race anyway, and a few more that are coming in as administrative powers. So, as it stands, we're looking at a pretty good total of drivers who have identification. So, welcome back. Timing ticker, it has returned. Tonight you're watching an FTN broadcasting event on Virtual2Reality TV. Great to bring this collaboration to you. For those of you who are watching and just tuning in for the very first time tonight, I'm your host, commentating and producing, David Kreutz. And if you enjoy, well, we are just getting started. Make sure to leave a like on the stream and subscribe to the channel. We've had a few moments waiting to figure out if everything is officially confirmed. That just comes down to the nature of this type of racing, because it's important to make sure everything is correct when thousands of dollars are on the line. Reminder, for the race winner in this event, the feature event winner, they will come away with $4,500. You can't afford to get things wrong with that amount of money on the line. Sometimes it's just how it goes. Looking at the number 50 here, Russell Soto getting things going nice and smooth. He's got himself a lot of teammates to work around. Still, Michael Polasek, the leading driver in terms of timing. Nobody's been able to beat him so far. Henceforth, you have Paul Darling getting things going. And the rest of his teammates, well, most of them are going to be on pit road as well. Looks like everyone taking a little bit of time off of the track right now. Better if they do so rather than wasting these final 30 seconds just trying to get a lap going and preparing as much as they can anyway for the final moment. Qualifying. 15-minute dash. Not going to be a lot of time, but to make use of it well is critical. So, drivers right now taking it down to pit road, taking a rest, and we know who the fastest driver in this section is. Apex 1 proves once again they're on top. Michael Polasek in the number 45. Gonna collect the quickest time here in your last practice of the day. Now it's time to enter qualifying and move on to your main race. Time to get things going here in Laguna Seca. Michael Polasek on top in practice. It's about time we go qualifying in Monterey. So the track is empty, but there's 14 minutes and 50 seconds left. Every driver is going to have their own circuit here, so that's going to change, actually. Their own circuit would be single car qualifying. That's going to be taken away from these drivers. It will be group qualifying. This is going to be intense. Every driver will affect each other in this stint, which means it's almost a race of its own to see whether or not these drivers do things right or if they do things incorrectly. Right now, doing things right just comes down to avoiding trouble with the rest of your drivers, which is something that is absolutely necessary to do. Luckily, most drivers are going to give each other space. That's how they're organizing things right now. In this first section, the warm-up laps won't make all too much of a difference. So, biding time, that's the big thing, and going from there. Tracks VR, Destroy Wrangler in the chat room, coming to support the two-car team. Ethan and Shane trying to go out there and win for Canada. The Calgary crew, it's a team of only 2, and yet they've done pretty good so far. Not a lot of drivers, but quantity doesn't always mean quality, and vice versa. So now everyone that's here is in the main feature. Looks like 33 drivers going to give it a chance. Going to be a much bigger main event than perhaps what we expected, and as such, almost everyone is going to get that opportunity here. Here's Michael Polasek. He's going down a little bit later than most others, but he's going to do so on his own time. Nate Olson gets things going in the Sim Racing Chicago, number 32. He now finds himself in a different number. Paul Darling, more the same. Russell Soto is going to be in third. Then you got fourth place. That's going to be Dakota Fripp right now in this train. Finally, there's Kevin Roll. And at long last, you got Matt Busa. Further on back, Trenton McMillian, Joshua Voigt, Ricardo Loa. And then you got the 0-3 here. Well, I believe this is going to be Freeman. Colin Freeman for the time being in the 0-3. Oh, a little bit of a slide there, just up and ahead. That's going to be Joshua Voigt. Luckily, he'll be going down a pit road, and that won't be a problem. Drivers are not going to be limited from using pit road tonight. That will not come in as a problem of any sort. And that means that you can go down as many times as you like in this practice session and qualifying session without penalizing yourself or falling short to any negative effects. That's a good thing, of course, for the entire field, no matter how you slice it. There's the Grid Lounge, number 14, going right under us once more. And it looks like now everything's been put together. 12 minutes and 13 seconds left. Timing screen going to be at your top. Of course, the left corner is going to show you the driver you're focusing on in specific. Michael Polasek for Apex 1, looking to bring in brand new crew and have them win in their first V2R attempt. Right now, qualifying has not been firmly solidified, so the 45 is on his first lap here. No driver has put in an officially validated time just yet. Looks like that might actually change. At the top of the board now, it's going to be Gripworks, and it looks like that's going to be Dimitri up on the top. Could change, of course, very soon, and yes, it did. Now going to be leading Tyler King, and it looks like Jack Freeman is going to be up in the front. Have Grid Lounge in third. Then you'll have a little bit more from Senate Sim Racing. Believe right now this is going to be Brandon Johnson up on top. Then you'll have Colin Freeman. You'll have Dimitri here. You'll also have, well, there's Kevin Rold, Russell Soto, Matt Busa. Then you take a look further back. Trenton McMillian's going to be 12th. And you've got a little bit more. There, once again, number 13 of Leon is going to be Race Pod for Sponsor Paddock and the Race Mode crew. So, multi-sponsor endeavor, one of the most decked out cars on track, and this Ferrari GT3 has come here to win. Performance is going to be everything for this car, and a lot on the line for it. Meanwhile, you see Shine is going to be in 15th, and teammate Ethan has not yet gotten a time in. Leading the circuit, Paul Darling might be able to take the pole position with this next lap, currently only about a tenth of a second off the top time. And next lap could be one that shatters the top time so far. 10 minutes remaining. Michael Polasek moves up in a second in the Apex 1, number 45. So, another good time going to be set there for Michael. Apex 1 looking strong so far, and maybe with a little bit more time remaining, going to be able to continue improving here. So, it looks like tonight, Dmitry Lunikov will be the only driver for Gripworks that has been confirmed. Additionally, for a few drivers we don't yet have names to, One Line Racing, let's talk about them. Right now, One Line, you're going to see that is the number 2 car they have. That is going to be Tony Wynn. Then you have Jake Craig in the other car. They have the same paint scheme, so it's a little bit different but very hard to differentiate. So Tony right now going to get things going, as does his teammate, and that's going to be Jake Kreutz. Additionally, SRC6 does not look to be with us tonight. That would be Rodolfo Vargas, but he's going to be put into the 12. So that's Vargas, and 11 will be Dom Rogers, but we don't see Dominic just yet. The 0-3 right now for Send It Sim Racing, that is Jack Freeman. So we'll focus on that. This is Jack Freeman with the purple and the orange, so everyone understands who's who. The 0-0 is Will Salisbury. So focus on Will right now. Purple and black. Moreover, take a little bit further behind, Jordan Johnson is the 33 in the pole position again. Same paint scheme as Jack Freeman. Very challenging to differentiate. Only thing you need to know is that Freeman has not the pole position, but his teammate, Jordan Johnson, definitely does. Then you have Vanden Henderson, who is not currently with us right now. There on the screen is Vanden Henderson, just got to us. SimPod 7 tonight will be ran by the driver in the race mode operation. That is going to be familiar face, Rafael Leon. Don't see any other SimPods with us right now. Sim Racing Chicago 11 has registered. That would be Dom Rogers if he chose to get on the circuit. The rest of these drivers, you'll know them by name, but Brendan Johnson, or rather Jordan Johnson, has the pole position with 8 minutes to go. Final countdown here. Matt Bussa going to be second, and it looks like if he wants any chance to go out there and take the pole position, very likely this run, if he has a next, it could be the next, but this run might be the difference maker. 97 warming up his stuff inside the cockpit, and Matt Bussa going to get to work one more time. Take a look inside and listen, and you'll see Matt Bussa really warming it up. Now Matt gets on the way. You're warming it up to the optimal temperature. Really, it comes down to just optimizing everything, knowing what needs to be done, and pushing to the absolute limit of that. So, all credit due to Matt Bussa right now. He's going to be finding wit's end of the car and absolutely giving it what it's needed. Matt right now going to find himself second, though, and even going to be rolling it down through the final portion of the track, including the corkscrew, which means now if there's any chance to go after the pole position, I figure it's going to come from this next lap. Perfect the car for the hot lap and go from there. So far, it looks like this might be the only lap he gets. With how much time it takes to prep for a lap and then go for one, the only fair shot he's got is going to come from this one moment. Coming out of the final corner, Matt Bussa is going to go for it. 6 minutes left in qualifying, and so Bussa is going to go full pace, setting it up the gears once again. This is a hot lap, which could collect the pole. Take a ride on board now with Matt Bussa and see exactly how he does it. Going to go all the way down to the curb, as you saw there in the outside camera. Now let's peel in and watch as Magic goes at it. And for Bussa to go right now, taking all the curbs that hitting the red sausages, which have sent drivers into the air all night long. Matt Bussa trying not to be one of those drivers who makes that mistake, but if you make it in qualifying, it's not as important or detrimental as doing so in the main event. However, you can see right now, Matt is really using all the curb, turning it back and forth. It looks like he's going to back off of this lap and wait perhaps for the next one to come. So just getting himself warmed up and accustomed. Matt will go at it again coming soon. And here right now, Jordan Johnson still has the top spot. Jordan looks like he's not going to relinquish it with ease. So if Matt goes at it, it might be another retaliatory lap coming very soon, immediately henceforth. Dakota Fripp is coming up in the number 77. Dakota right now is only a few thousandths off of Matt Bussa and Michael Polasek. Reminder, Michael's in second, not Matt Bussa, and he's only there by about 6/100ths of a second. So time is marginal with 5 minutes to go. And every driver understands now, this is all what it comes down to. Last moments of racing. 30 minutes in the main feature and only 5 minutes left in timing here. it goes to show there's not a lot left. So if you can use your time wisely, that's the difference between victory and defeat here. But it's only going to be one good lap these drivers get in qualifying in 5 minutes from now, unless they're able to really max that time out. Matt Bussa is going to go for it again, and this might be the run he needs. Going up the hill, he's going to go back on the ascent, and it looks like this time around, Bussa is committed. Going to be going full pace, using all of the curb, and now locks it up. Just one slight mistake, and he's going to have to go down to pit road, get a new tire, if he wants any chance at the pole position. Michael Polasek going to be in second. Dakota Fripp is in fourth. Paul Darling fifth. Nate Olson is in sixth. As it stands a little bit further back, you're going to have Leon finds himself P7. Tyler King is going to be in eighth. And then ninth spot, you'll have Sended Sim Racing right now, one of their drivers, and it looks like it's going to be Vaughn Henderson for the time being. Not this far up in front. He's in the number 44 and 26. So far, it looks like Jack Freeman is going to find himself up and up. Kevin Roll is going to be right now at number 29. He's going to be in 11th. 12th is going to be held right now by Grid Lounge, and that's going to be their number 10 operation. So far, Grid Lounge has sent in multiple drivers, only one of which competing by name, and this additional account, it's going to be the driver tonight of, well, we talk about the name. Let's get that in just a moment here. Zach Everman is what you see on the screen. However, that's going to be Jason Rappel, not Zach Everman. Jason tonight going to be currently in 12th, just to confirm that Zach is not the driver behind the wheel with 2 minutes and 57 left. One Line Racing, their second driver, that's going to be Tony Wynn, finds himself 13th. 14th place is going to be Trenton McMillian, and then you got Dimitri, who's in P15. That's going to change if one of these drivers gets a hot lap in. 2 minutes 50 seconds, and it looks like Matt Bussa will go out for one last lap. Will Polasek do so? Looks like yes, he will. So Michael Polasek going to go for it. This is going to be a hot lap. Let's see what he has in store for us. This is the last lap that Polasek can get through, and let's see if it's the one he needs. Michael right now, keeping himself completely where he needs to be on the track, hitting the curbs, hitting his marks. That's all that's necessary. Driver's going to back off in his way. That's exactly what you want to see as well. Nobody going to get interrupting in this hot lap session. Some drivers, of course, having to move back and forth. That's the tricky part for those who are not going at full pace. Looks like right now Polasek is committed. He'll go into the hairpin, go right through the corkscrew, and he might have a driver to come up on, but he can't worry about what's ahead. It's only a distraction. Down to first gear, putting the power down yet again. Polasek looking strong, and now the final sector is his. Michael's fastest lap so far, a 122.016. That put him up to second. Any improvement is likely to put him up to the pole position. Coming out of your 11th corner, making it all the way out and using the wide exit. It looks like Polasek confident to finish the job, and at the line, that lap time is going to come to be. Looks like that time through, not validated. He'll have to go for it again, and he will have just enough time. Meanwhile, Matt Bussa's now going, and Bussa's going to make that run up the hill in the one and only additional lap that he's got. You want to make sure you do not touch the gravel. I believe what happened there for Polasek was his exit was too wide out of turn 11, and that cost him the whole lap. Look at how close the Bussa is there to hitting the curbs, hitting the cornering. And that's the difference between falling off the track and being perfect and gaining every extra thousandth of time. Bussa's now going to slide through and use second gear. Full tilt right through the corkscrew. And now it looks like he is on edge, making use of everything. Counter steering back and forth. Bussa loose. And he'll pull it off the track. Matt Busa, not enough. He'll be at best in 4th. Anyone who's currently on a run will be able to finish it. However, Michael Polasek will challenge the top time. Polasek has made it through in a fast lap. Now he's been able to use each and every inch of the circuit, except for this one correctly. Last turn is the difference. He's going to stay on the green, not go all too wide. Now coming to the checkered flag once again, Michael Polasek at the line. That lap time, a 121.973. It matches his previous best. No improvement. Polasek second. Right now, looks like Jordan Johnson, one of the only drivers still going, but he won't have to improve as he's going to run off the line. Paul Darling on pit road, he will not contend. Nate Olson is in 5th, will not contend either. Dakota Fripp is going for a lap, and this is a lap that Dakota will be allowed to complete. If there's any improvement, now we're going to see it. So Fripp is going to be coming home here using the corner. Looks like a little bit wider than maybe a few drivers before him. At the line, Dakota Fripp, 121.976. That's going to jump Dakota up from 6th to 3rd in his final run. 3 thousandths off the front row. Wonderful work there for Dakota to get inside P3. Busa might have just been on the run to beat, as Oasis Sim Racing comments. It just doesn't work out. Fripp, great run as well. Gets up to P3 here. Tyler King and company off the track. Looks like qualifying has officially concluded. And so now, with practice and qualifying and your 5 heats and last chance constellations out the way, we're ready to go racing. Your main feature is about to begin in Laguna Seca. You're watching the WeatherTech Raceway Skip Barber GT3 Challenge, brought to you by Virtual2Reality TV. Here in Laguna Seca, California racing like you never seen it before. The best style of 2.24 miles of twists and turns, of ups and downs, hundreds of feet of elevation, degrees of banking on the left and right turns. There's nothing that compares to modern Laguna Seca, and it will always remain that way. Qualifying lineup is complete. Let's talk about it right now. Who's where? The starting grid goes as follows. Inside of row number 1, going to be, of course, your pole sitter. That's going to be for Sended Sim Racing, Jordan Johnson, and Michael Polasek is going to be starting in second. P2 on the order. Immediately thereafter, it's going to be not Gerard Davis, of course, one of the many who we saw beforehand, but instead, it's going to be number 77. That's going to be Dakota Fripp. Paul Darling is in 4th. Gerard Davis, one of those who's out. Davis beforehand, you saw both those for fastest lap out. A few other notable drivers beforehand. Dom Rogers also out. Just a few to discuss before the race gets going. Matt Busa, Nate Olson, positions number 4 and 5. You're going to have them right alongside each other, and it looks like 5 and 6 rather, with then race pod number 7. That's going to be Leon, who finds himself 7th, and Kevin Rold in 8th. 9th place is going to be Russell Soto. Tyler King is going to be P10. And then you've got 11th place, which looks to be Jack Freeman. And then it's going to be, well, it says Zach Everman on your screen. In truth, that is Jason Rappel in 12th. 13th place is going to be One Line Racing's Tony Wynn. And then you'll have Shine in P14. 15th place, Trenton McMillian, and then SRC 12, Rodolfo Vargas in 16th. 17th place is going to be for Gripworks, their one and only driver, looks like Dimitri, and then 17th. Well, of course, next to him is 18th, Freddie Toth. To round out the top 20, you'll have Nick Stathis and One Line Racing, their number 1 driver on the day. Well, for the One Line Racing crew, that will be Jake Craigs just beside. For 21st and 22nd, you're going to have Ethan and Lee Martinez. Then you'll have Connor Clifford, Joshua Voigt, John Buwalski a little bit further back. That's going to be Vanden Henderson. Further on behind, there's going to be for the 03 crew, that's going to be Super Lap, and that's one of their many entries tonight. The Super Lap crew has been able to send in a few more than other drivers and teams and campaigns, and then you got Robert Cortez with them. Green flag is due to fly right now, and it's going to be Jordan Johnson that brings the field to the green flag. Let's get things going from Laguna Seca. 30 minutes on the clock, and it's about time as the green flag flies. Time already running out, and with Johnson getting that jump, the rest of the field keeps it clean. A little bit of contact further on back though. Back of the field going to be in some trouble, and now getting away from the scuffle, most of the pack does. Nevertheless, all the way at the back now, you're going to see a few who got caught up in it. There's one. It looks like Trenton McMillian sent to the wayside, and already some lap one troubles as Trenton goes spinning. Take a look back now. Instant replay on the opening incident tonight. This one already at the tail of the pack, and you could see, multiple drivers getting contact there. Take a look back to the cause of it, and this is right on the start. So Trenton McMillian, it looks like already going to be hampered quickly as he goes up the ascent. It'd be nice to see. And then as he dives down, contact there, it looked like with Shane, and then the number 8, Freddie Toth, gets right by. But with contact. So that's going to be bad news for Freddie. It looks like, of course, a little bit of contact from one of the VR track guys. And worst of all, Trenton McMillian going to be caught up at the tail end of the field. At the front, going to be your race leader. Up and ahead, it's still going to be Jordan Johnson. So as Jordan Johnson gets going, you'll see Michael Polasek in second. P3 right now is going to be Dakota Fripp. Paul Darling is P4. Matt Busa rounds out the top 5. 28 minutes remaining on the clock here for all drivers, and this is only the beginning. So, laps will not necessarily define this event. However, we don't expect to see pit road used at all. So, as a result, most likely what's going to happen in this instance is drivers are going to go the full distance of 22 laps. If they get slowed down by anything, however, that might change things, and that's when we're going to see maybe a few problems, but it's only going to be very brief and shouldn't impact these drivers fully. Nevertheless, you look a little bit further behind, there's Michael Polasek here. As it stands, you'll also have Circuit Sim Racing's number 77, and that's Dakota Fripp. Top 3 going to be separate right now by maybe a second and a half. Nothing too crazy going on for most of those in the front of the field. Mid-pack is where everything's going to be pretty tight. And there's Dimitri, a little bit further behind, Rodolfo Vargas, and also One Line Racing, Bears Craigs, trying to get inside of this fight. Nick Stout is also going to be in the mix here. Nick almost seeing some contact from Ethan. Ethan wasn't quite able to get there, so he's going to look low, but he doesn't have the run or momentum, and that's the problem here. Can't find the momentum, you're going to be in a significantly worse situation. Now, side by side yet again, Connor Clifford this time rises high, gets loose, and skates up the track. Bad news, and unfortunately, that's just what comes out of a circumstance like that. Back of the field, further troubles, and this time it's going to be Connor Clifford. Clifford goes around, no yellow flag again, and it looks like with them it's going to be the 0-3. So some bad news, as it looks like Sended Sim Racing sees another driver involved in an incident. That's going to be Jack Freeman. No caution. Let's take a look, though. What happened is Jack Freeman finds yellow flag troubles. Caution is not going to fly, but unfortunately for Jack Freeman, that means the rest of the road up from here, it's going to be long, and quite frankly, it will be arduous. Take a look here, as it looks like he spun coming out of the pit road entry, but I think he got driven in there, or he drove in there. And that's what happened. Looks like running through the opening turns, contact, and sliding through. And you can see right there, synchronized spinning. Freddie Toth gets away. Meanwhile, it looks like right there, teammates go into not one another, but they end up sliding at the same time. So as a result, Vondon Henderson and his teammate Jack Freeman both spin. Bad news for Sended Sim Racing. After such a strong start to the day, they still might be leading, but it looks like right now they're back of the field, not being put together quite as nicely. Take a look back alive. Jordan Johnson still leads. Michael Polasek is still the second leading driver. And then you got third, Circuit Sim Racing. There is Dakota Fripp. So Fripp's going to find himself right on the back end here. And then furthermore, you got the battles between Superlap and Sim Racing Chicago all over again. SRC is going to see Nate Olson now ahead of Matt Busa. Sim Racing Chicago has definitely been one of the strongest teams we've seen so far. And that's not by coincidence. You talk about Nate Olson, you talk about Matt Busa. They're drivers who have been in the scene for quite a while. Matt Busa, as a matter of fact, a NASCAR Cup Series driver, or rather eNASCAR driver. He's at the level of the Cup Series in the iRacing world. The eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, well known as the premier oval competition on the global scale. Nate Olson's going to slide, and he's going to lose multiple spots here. Not going to be a terrible mistake. He's only going to lose one spot for certain. Leon going to stay side by side, but Olson drifting is now going to face some contact and challenge. However, it looks like he'll maintain the inside. A wonderful way to go about the circumstance. Didn't mess up fully, and as a result, he'll keep things going. Great job there for Nate Olson. Nevertheless, that could have been significantly worse, and it looks like he will get away with avoiding big troubles. Matt Busa now up and ahead for his team, but you can see the big deficit that's established because of that problem. Now up and ahead, 4th place. That's going to be, of course, Paul Darling. Paul is going to be ahead now by about 2+ seconds over the teammates for Sim Racing Chicago. SRC has been wonderful so far, but now looks like another mistake. The deficit's going to be hard to claw back from. It's definitely possible, but the question becomes whether or not it can be done in a quick period of time. And time is of the essence, and it will continue to be just that. If you can't use the time wisely, you're going to be set for failure. So far, Laguna Seca has proven one thing all throughout. If you can stay up in front, you're going to be in a perfect spot to go all through and find victory. As it stands right now, it looks like that's really going to be the same case once again. Jordan Johnson, he's leading. He led Heat 1, led every lap of which, and came away with the victory. Now, he seems poised to do so once again, so long as he just keeps it away from Michael Polasek. Michael, though, is about the quickest driver to deal with here for any other driver, including Jordan Johnson, so saying it's going to be easy to keep him away is a complete lie. Now it just comes more of whether or not Michael Polasek can do just that. He needs to figure out a way from here to continue making gains and find that advantage. Something that is not simple in the slightest, but can be done. Further on back, you still see Dakota Fripp. Let's talk about some of those mid-race battles. Looks like a huge lap from Jordan Johnson qualifying, huge enough that the entire field congratulated him, and that's the essence of the race so far. Look a little bit further back. Joshua Voigt now going to face some competition. There's Rodolfo Vargas, and there's John Buwalski. So maybe now you're going to see the mid-pack come a little bit more alive here, even if they're not competing for the race win. Unfortunately, right now, it doesn't mean that a driver's out of contention, even if they're not leading the way. There's still a lot for them to do in the mid-pack here. They have to capitalize, and that's something that is essential when you consider the circumstances. 20 minutes to go, you could see 20 drivers wreck in 20 minutes. It might not be likely, but it surely is possible. So for John Buwalski right now in 21st, or someone like Rodolfo Vargas or Joshua Voigt ahead, giving up is about the worst thing you can possibly do. Meanwhile, here you go. There's one of the drivers for Trax VR. There's Ethan. He's in 19th. He and his Canadian teammates, well, it looks like right now they're both inside the top 20. Currently, it looks like Shane is going to find himself in the 12th spot, up 2 spots on the day from where he began. So making some gains here in a critical position, 12th place, maybe going to be going a little bit further from P14 starting to perhaps even the top 10. Reminder, 6 drivers get paid out, which means currently it looks like it's going to be Nate Olson, the final driver on the pay bubble. 2 drivers who are going to be together right now. Well, of course, it's going to be Nate Olson, Matt Busa. They'll be the final 2 drivers that put themselves together for the payment bracket. $4,500 to win as it stands for this operation, if they are to win the first place prize. However, drivers from 1st to 6th are going to be paid regardless. With more than $10,000 online. It's one of the biggest competitions all throughout the country. That's something we hammered in last time we went racing, and it's true once again. 16 organizations, sim centers, have come together for this race. It's taken a long while, taken months of effort, tens of thousands of laps of qualifying runs to get to this point, and now we're here once more. And Sended Sim Racing was with us beforehand, now alongside 15 other centers, including Gripworks Racing in Redmond, Washington, Algonquin, Illinois, and the Sim Racing Chicago organization. Then from there, it looks like it's going to be Springfield, Missouri's Flying Lap. Getzville is going to be so far Sended Sim Racing, Evansville, Indiana. Then from there, Berkley, Long Island, Super Lap, and Skip Barber respectively, Circuit Sim Racing in California, Drive Sims in Concord, California, Kalispell, Montana, Sim Race Glacier, Calgary, Alberta, Tracks VR, they're from Canada, Winston Salem's Race Mode in North Carolina, Manassas, Virginia, RPM Rush, Cedar Falls, Iowa, Westfield, New Jersey's Apex One, and Grid Lounge in Iowa, with One Line Racing Center in Austin, Texas. Right now, a little bit of fan support from Mike Polisek, and Mike running in second comfortably here. Looks like nobody going to get to him so far for P2, but the battle for fourth on back, it's getting tight. Take a look right now what's going on right behind Paul Darling. Looks like right now it's going to be Dakota Fripp, and then Matt Busa, and then a little bit further behind, Nate Olson. These three are wrapped under a blanket, all things considered. 3 drivers and maybe 5 car lengths between them at the very most. Not a lot of room for error here, and 2 of these drivers are teammates, so Dakota Fripp might actually be in the worst position, even with the track position in his favor. Not easy for Dakota to get through in situations like this when you're on the back end, but if you end up being pressured out the way, very challenging, even if you have the pace to go a little bit further up, which means if he falls down a 6th, it's going to be very much a challenge to go from where he is right now, 9 laps in 6th, to going further back up. Even by lap number 22, the expected checkered flag period in this event. Closest battle on the racing circuit right now, where there's many that are within tenths of seconds. Right now you're looking, once again, the 00 here for Sended Sim Racing, one of their drivers that has so far survived the chaos so far, and the one you're looking at right now, that currently is going to be the driver in their 00, Will Salisbury, who is 7th seed coming in. Will Salisbury is going to find himself just ahead of Tyler King. Tyler running pretty solid so far in the Chevy Camaro, 2 Chevy Camaros for the Super Lap crew, and right now they find themselves running both of which inside the top 10. Trying to dive to the inside in the final corner, Tyler looked for something, but it just wasn't there. He'll have to keep on waiting for at least the next few laps. Lee Martinez coming up on a bubble of drivers himself. This is a 4-driver gaggle led right now, it looks like, by Tony Wynn. Tony going to be 15th here, so smack in the middle of the field. Then you got Nick Stathis, and it looks like one of his teammates, and Jake Craig is going to be right there as well. Jake is going to be 17th, so 3rd of the 4-driver bubble. And at last, you've got Lee Martinez in that number 7 for Drive Sims. Good to see right now that Lee Martinez finds himself in the optimal position to maybe keep on trailing. If you're in these trails, and there's even one further up ahead, like you see right now led by Dimitri, then you've got just further behind, it's going to be one of the Grid Lounge guys once again. And we've talked multiple times before about the Zach Everman crew, Jason Rappel behind the wheel. When you're in these multi-car trains where you're behind, there's always an opportunity to learn by trailing and getting up in front. Currently right now, that Ferrari is going to be hanging on pretty strong, and that's going to be Ethan in the 24. He's got the lead, but what can you do by being in the back and trailing and learning? Sometimes we think about it as it's a disadvantage solely because it is the dirty air, but what can you do when you're behind a driver and you have a chance to watch them? Can you copy them? Can you get in their wake? Down the front straightaways, it's definitely potent, and that's why when we take a look further up down the front straightaway, you take a look once again, this is inside the top 10 drivers who are just barreling down, including Leon, and he has drivers with him who are just directly chasing him. When they go down the straightaways, or go up the straight, whichever direction it is, they always have a benefit in being with each other because that's when the toe comes into play. It doesn't come into play all the time. Really, it doesn't come up in many situations, but when it does come up, you can take advantage of it and get away from your competitors who are further behind. This is why when you're in a group, even at a road course, you likely have the advantage and the benefits that drivers who are alone simply do not. And it's best to make use of that, especially in the first half of a race, which is coming to an end in about 5 seconds here. So a driver's better quick think, of course, if they haven't made use of it already. And quickly thinking is going to be one of the first things you have to do. Then you have to quickly race. 2.3 seconds up on the field. So far, there has been no competition for the race lead tonight. Send It Sim Racing and their man Jordan Johnson has been up and on top since the jump. At the line once again, Johnson's going to have the race lead, and now he's leading us to lap number 12, which means an estimate of only 11 laps to go is in full order. 11 laps left. Michael Polasek is going to be right there in P2. Paul Darling's coming up for third. Mind you, the difference for them is going to be multiple hundreds of dollars, and they're both right now locked in for a position to win at least 1,000 here. So this is a great spot to be in. If you're a driver, of course, you have to understand victory lane, not the only big win. If you're in the top 6, you're in an even better spot to just come away with some cash rather than being risky and aggressing yourself, especially if you're not even close to the race leader, which nobody really is right now. Being in the top 6 is still a huge benefit for a driver. Matt Busa right now finds himself 6th, Nate Olson 5th, both of which I don't know if they have the race winning pace tonight. They might have the pace to get up further to a driver like Dakota Fripp. Matt Busa's fallen off a little bit, but it still looks like Olson's putting on the pressure. They could definitely get by someone like Fripp if the chips fall in the correct places, but to get up to the race lead would be very unlikely now, as one driver is going to be all the way further back and on the gravel. And it looks like that's going to be Robert Cortez. Cortez with some trouble. And we're going to take a look back now and figure out why Robert is limping through the gravel. And that's going to be Robert Cortez. So Cortez 1 lap down as is and was in 30th at the time of incident and is just going to drift off ever so slightly and slow down. Nothing too dramatic actually, just pulling to the side and letting drivers go. But Cortez having some troubles tonight, and the Drive Sims number 3 once again has to get out of the way of the field. So no significant issues, just going to have to get out of the way based on losing pace there. Driver error, nothing too crazy, and Robert Cortez keeps things moving as a result. So, taking our focus back again to the front of the field, the battle, well, it's going to be now all around Robert, but moreover, it's going to be Jordan Johnson getting away from the battle. He has escaped, maybe dealing with a few lappers now and again, but he's 56 seconds up on the field, more than halfway in. Dealing with lappers shouldn't be more than a matter of them moving out of the way, especially at this point. When you're more than halfway into an event, I think that just happens to be the best thing. Michael Polasek is going to be in second here, 2.5 behind, 3 seconds behind your leader, and a half second behind Mike is going to be Paul Darling. Still, the gaps between the leaders besides your top driver have remained tight, and multiple drivers just went right through the gravel. Dakota Fripp and Nate Olson. I think they're both going to have to maybe give away a few seconds there by making the same mistake. So far they haven't, but it looks like they're just going to get lucky as they clearly, very clearly, went through the gravel at the same time. Just looks like it didn't impact their lap time enough, and honestly it might have slowed them down more than anything else. That's not really much of a cut through, it's more of just making a mistake and unfortunately having to own it as it occurs. 11 minutes remaining. Zach Everman right now going to be in the 14th spot. One Line Racing's Tony Wynn is going to be 15th. Lee Martinez is 16th with front end damage. Shockingly enough, you can see right now, Lee Martinez has very notable front end damage. And this is something multiple drivers we've seen through before. It looks like even if this is the case, it hasn't been too detrimental. The front bumper on multiple Porsches from the heats and the qualifying consolations, they've gone away completely before, like what we were seeing from Martinez. And yet Lee is not one of the slowest drivers on the circuit. And it looks like right now, Lee Martinez, certainly one of which, who thinks that's the case. He just seems to be going without regard for that damage. It's keeping ahead of the trail, and it looks like even if that damage is on the front bumper, the engine has not been compromised. Shows the, of course, how well these sports cars are built to take a beating in some circumstances, like getting some hits and plows back and forth on the front and back bumpers. Nick Stathis with a move through the corkscrew. Takes him wide, but he'll still hang on for position. And we've seen multiple drivers before fail at that endeavor. It looks like Nick Stathis this time comes away and will not be deterred. Good job there for the number 17 spot taken. Nick Stathis definitely doesn't make it look easy, but he plants it, and that's what matters. And that's going to get him ahead again once more of Shane, and then you have a little bit further back. It's going to be SRC's Rodolfo Vargas. 10 minutes to go in this race. $4,500 on the line for a race winner here, and that could be your current race leader, Jordan Johnson. Johnson gets by another lapper, going to make it look easy once more. It looks like it's going to be Sven Titgemeyer, and looks like Sven going to give it away quite easily there in the number 2. So with the lappers not giving any trouble for Jordan Johnson, it looks like this is about the ideal scenario for this team. As long as he hangs on and by his own accord gets to the end of the race, $4,500 will be in his back pocket after another historic event. Competing with drivers all throughout the country in real time. Sim racing giving way to more intense competition all throughout. And that's what it means to be in these situations. Contact and a little bit of a traffic jam. And now you're seeing Michael Polasek get up to Paul Darling. And in no small part, that's thanks to the lappers getting a little bit slower in the way of the race leading drivers. Now Dakota Fripp's going to have to deal with it, and as is Nate Olson. Olsen's going to have to make a move and dive deep there in the number 2, and it looks like Sven's going to let that number 2 still go by. 32 shall be in the way, of course, of nobody any longer. Lappers are going to make a move through, and now Dakota Fripp also gets by and maybe gets a little bit closer to the battle ahead. Michael Polasek and Paul Darling looking a little bit slower at once here in the final moments. They don't want to deal with anyone else. This battle has been their own for the majority of the night. So, henceforth, the back of the field, you're going to see Tyler King here, 10th place. 9th place is going to be that Simpod machine. That's going to be Leon once more. He's in 9th right now. And it looks like for Sponsor Paddock once again, doing a great job. One of the virtual to reality programs offered here by the crew. Love, of course, if you checked out virtual2reality.tv, the website bringing you all of tonight's action. Once again, watching the GT3 Challenge brought to you by Skip Barber Racing. If you're watching this one live on Virtual to Reality TV, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the stream. More events are due to come in future months, and they're going to be about as exciting and definitely more so than what you're seeing right now. Up and in front, looks like still going to be the same leaders. Russell Soto's going to be in 8th, but he might be challenged here very soon, and one of his challengers might be his Super Lap teammate just behind in Tyler King. Maybe Tyler King not as strong at this circuit in Laguna Seca as he was Watkins Glen, one of the fastest drivers in Watkins Glen's opening laps before getting involved in a very early race incident. Unfortunately, that's what happens when you get yourself antsy early, but this race has been quite the opposite up in front. It's been the theme of the heats and consolations, and all of which, if you stay up in front, track position Laguna Seca is victory. As simply put, if Michael Polasek had that pole position, it would be highly likely he'd be in almost the same spot to go all the way and win this race. Right now, it looks like it's going to be a little bit of wiggling and bobbing once more. Tyler getting to the inside of Leon. Can't quite get there. Leon going to block. And now it looks like the Super Lap Chevrolet has to find a way through the corkscrew. Side by side with the lapper. Nearly going to be 2x2. Boxed up. Tyler now goes up top again. He's going to have to work alongside the number 50 here, but Russell Soto is going to keep him boxed in. Teammates now against each other, and Leon gets away, and the individual driver actually gets the edge in this fight. Meanwhile, the teammates are going to go at each other, and they are dogfighting to the line once more. And sometimes that's the disadvantage of being on a team here. It just becomes a little bit trickier to straight up do something wrong to the other driver, so you have to back off, and it almost becomes mild. Oh, lock up again for both King and Soto, and there were clearly some Very mixed reactions right there inside the cockpit, just having to jam the brakes at once with 5 minutes and 40 seconds remaining. It looks like now getting away, it's going to be Leon for P8. Kevin Rold is going to be 7th. Matt Busa still the final driver to hang on for payment. But the fight for second rages on. Michael Polasek is still going to be second. Paul Darling, though, is in third. And it looks like right now it's an unchanging third place. Going through the corkscrew once again, hoping to see a mistake. That's about the only thing you can hope for. The corkscrew is the hardest part of the circuit. You go topsy-turvy, there's no way to save it. You might end up spinning backwards on the way down. And even their race leader could fall susceptible. Watch out with the coming 3 or so laps. I think that's all about the time we have. Matt Boos is going to be further behind, but his teammate Nate Olson now brings one up high to Dakota Fripp. Dakota's going to stay coming across the line center stage. Here comes Nate Olson trying to take the center of the track as a means of defense. Olson's going to decide to have none of it. Went high for the final sector, nearly made it work, and that's going to show the pressure is going to end up, of course, involving that number 77 somehow. And maybe it's going to cause a mistake. Maybe it's going to force one. Maybe we'll see both drivers make a mistake. That's something that happens a little bit too often, unfortunately. That's just the nature of aggressive racing. Up high, both drivers go. Now Fripp is battling big. Keep in mind, they both get paid if they come out of this alive. And now someone's got to give that time by. It was once again Nate Olson. Nate's thinking about maybe making a move or trying to figure out something else. But the difference is clear right now. The advantage in defense has been Dakota's. Even if Nate puts on a stellar offensive showing, it's too hard to use the outside, which is not the optimal line through the corkscrew. Man, that could have been some quarter panel contact to behold. It could have been a race ender at that. Horrible that would have been, of course, if it ended a race. Keep in mind, though, every driver who kicked this one off, who started at all, are still racing, and at worst, they're one lap down. So damage has been absolutely minimal, and it looks like most drivers have been able to go just based on their own pace since the very beginning. Meanwhile, back up in front, 0.2 of a second ahead. It still looks like Dakota has ever so slightly the advantage. Take a look off the back end, and there's Nate Olson once more. Like anyone else, Nate Olson would hate to make the mistake that ends the battle and brings way to a huge incident, and I'm sure Dakota Fripp doesn't want things to come to blows again, but they've gone side by side, and I'll tell you this much, it's looking rather aggressive between both of them. You don't want to make a mistake, but you also want to keep and defend your position, especially when every position right now means several $100s. Giving that up would be a major mistake. Up high, Fripp now gets pushed by Olson up into the corkscrew. Olson's now looking for room. He looks low. He looks even lower, and there he goes down to the bottom again. Now it's going to force Fripp high. Still, Dakota has the advantage. Will that be a slowdown penalty? Looks like no. Dead even as they come down to the final sector. Now Fripp gives in, and Nate Olson gets away for fourth. He had to force that issue and then some, and the corkscrew is the place to be to make a mistake. Meanwhile, up and ahead, battle for second might end up the same way. 2 minutes between these drivers to settle it amongst each other for a battle that's been separated by less than 4/10 throughout the night. Paul Darling here is exactly where he needs to be. Very close now to Michael Polasek, and it looks like with this time slowly but surely coming down, maybe Michael has a chance to just keep on defending. Paul Darling, though, has a few tricks up his sleeve, and let's see if he uses them. The corkscrew is proven to be the best place to go. If a driver has enough speed to really lunge, making use of this uphill incline and then using the corkscrew, that's like the best thing you can do, especially right now if you have confidence. Darling, though, going to make a little bit of a blunder there. You might have seen it fading back ever so slightly. Now it looks like it's going to be about time to try it again. Darling might wait for a mistake, might lunge it through. The last lap could be different, but when extra hundreds are on the line for each and every pass, that's when things become especially challenging. Darling lies back for now. No major change. Dakota Fripp is still watching here with Nate Olson, and it looks like Matt Busa is still the final driver in the pay bracket in 6th place. Coming across the line, this will be the final lap. 1 lap to go for lap number 22. In 50 seconds time, that will be official. White flag for Jordan Johnson, your pole sitter in Heat 1, and your overall pole sitter based on hot lap speed. Qualifying proved to be the best indicator that Johnson would prevail. And tonight, well, it's no secret now. He's up and ahead, and he is looking to finish the job with no prisoners held. Checkered flag is out now, and it looks like if Jordan Johnson just makes it through the final 3 corners, it will be his. Michael Polasek a little bit further behind. Paul Darling still battling for second here. Olsen has gotten away. Dakota Fripp has faded back, and it's all about now what we're seeing up front. Getzville, New York, Send It Sim Racing. They sent 4 drivers this week, and they have sent a weapon in Jordan Johnson. By far the fastest driver in today's festivities, second fastest in the opening qualifying round, and it was clear from the first time he hopped on the sim in Getzville, he would be a force to be reckoned with. Now, with just a few moments to go, not only does Send It Sim Racing win an iRacing VIP membership, but one of their drivers is due to make history in Laguna Seca and win $4,500 in national competition. Coming across the checkered flag here in Monterey, Send It Sim Racing sends it to the checkered flag. Welcome back, Jordan Johnson, to victory lane, your Skip Barber GT3 Challenge champion. $4,500 richer. Johnson converts the pole position to victory in California. Send It Sim Racing wins from Michael Polasek in second for Apex 1. Paul Darling completes the podium, and he does so for Super Lap in third. Nate Olson, Sim Racing Chicago, Circuit Sim Racing, Dakota Fripp, and then finally 6th, Sim Racing Chicago finds 2 drivers in the pay window, Matt Busa. But tonight, the number 33. He gets it done. He was the fastest in our first practice session today, and he looked to be the driver that would get the job done from the jump. $4,500 available. He'll be the richest of which. Here's how it breaks down. Official tabulation has been provided. Officially, $1,600 will go to your race winner. Michael Polasek then going to find himself with $1,000. Third, $700 is going to be then from there. Nate Olson is going to be just after with $500. $400. That's going to be Circuit Sim Racing's Dakota Fripp. And lastly, Matt Busa is going to be 6th, taking away $300. $4,500 richer for the entire field of 6 drivers. They are up at the front, the richest of which comes away with $1,600. It will be Jordan Johnson coming away victorious tonight, and he's been burning it down a little bit slowly, and now he'll come down the front straight to really celebrate. To get these things to burn out, perhaps just a little bit too much traction. It looks like tonight Jordan was in control and now drifts down into turn 1 for another chance to slide through. And so Johnson comes away with a race win, and it looks like we'll celebrate once more. Now, perhaps about time for a burnout. It looks like instead, putting it together and parking in the opening sector. Checkered flag out tonight. Race winner at the end of tonight's festivities, Jordan Johnson, who will win from Michael Polasek in second. Third place is going to be Paul Darling, and Nate Olson finishes in fourth, just about 9 seconds behind. You'll see Dakota Fripp is in fifth. At Busa comes away P6 with Kevin Rhodes 7th, Leon comes away 8th, Russell Soto 8th, and Tyler King in 9th. Most top 10s by one organization tonight come away super lap with 4 from their 6 who enter. Furthermore, the back of the field, we'll see the midfield anyway. You'll have then, it looks like Ethan going to be 11th. Then you'll have Dimitri P12, and it's going to be 00 Will Salisbury in 13th. And finally, then you'll have, well, Grid Lounge. They had 2 drivers who make it inside of the top 20, and the first of which night going to be Jason Rappel. Then you'll have Tony Wynn, you'll have Shane, and then Lee Martinez, SRC12, Rodolfo Vargas, and Joshua Voigt. And then from there, the 03 for Superlap coming in just a little bit later. And then 21st place, it's going to be P21 held by Freddie Toth. Connor Clifford 22nd, One Line Racing 23rd, Nick Stathis 24th, Trenton McMillian 25th, and it will be the number 44, so that will be tonight one of the last drivers for the Senate Sim Racing crew, and that will be, of course, London Henderson. P25, just beforehand, Ricardo Lowe is 27th, Sven Titkemeyer comes away 28th, Robert Cortez is going to be in 29th, and John Buwalski is the 30th and final driver to attend tonight's event. Checkered flag is going to fly, and one driver, well, it already flew, and it flew for this man. The number 33, the fastest driver in California, your winner, Jordan Johnson. Let's get a word from the man who swept each and every lap and did so convincingly, he left us out there with really little to watch of him besides perfection each and every time around. It's about time we get a word from the man who wins tonight's race. It is Jordan Johnson. Looks like we got a chance to hear from him right now. We're going to pull him in. Looks like he and all other of our drivers, we have many of which we could speak to, and here's the first of which, your winning man, Jordan Johnson. Tonight, absolutely dominant from start to finish, qualifying. Heat win, winning it again with a pole position on quick time, and Send It Sim Racing has found a way on top once more. Tonight, Jordan Johnson, you come away with a huge victory, and not only add to that, $1,600 in your back pocket as a result of a tremendous performance. How do you feel?
Fantastic. Unbelievably stressed after having to go chase down qualifying pole again, and I didn't know if I had it and put an absolute screamer, and from there I just believed in myself, put it home, and yeah, lost for words at the moment, to be honest.
And the race for qualifying ended up being something in itself. First, we want to talk about you getting that speed. You were second in the opening qualifying portion of this event, which took months of work for all drivers to put in. So we knew you were quick from there. What did you do to take the extra step to be convincingly fastest in those first and, of course, one-lap qualifying stints?
Yeah, well, over the months, I just kind of came in, did a couple laps, and was quite comfortable with my pace. Coming in today, I just kind of relaxed and just let the pace come out. My first qualifying, I was really disappointed because I should have matched the lap I put in that second qualifying. So walking into it, I knew I'd just relax, know that you have it. These cars are quite temperamental, so just keep it all under you, and it should come home. And I'm glad I believed in myself because it did.
And, you know, believing in yourself, getting you back up there with a huge lap in this new qualifying session, 2/10 up, and that proved to be the big difference. You think qualifying is what won you this one?
Yeah, I think coming in, I even believed that it was going to be a qualifying race. It's so unbelievably hard to pass here when you're at the top end, and there's nothing to give. Unless there's a mistake, you're not really going to get past someone. And I think just looking back through the top of the grid, it looked about the same. I think there's one position change in the top 5 from what I saw, but yeah, very much was placing a lot of stress on qualifying. All of the practice time we had, I pretty much just spent doing quality runs, 2 laps, and just back in and just go for it again.
And it looks like all your predictions there coming to reality and winning here in Laguna Seca. Major prize not only for yourself, but Send It Sim Racing coming with a very strong team and winning here in Getzville, New York. And we'd like to hear from you not only about your performance, but the crew over there at Send It Sim Racing. How's it been getting a taste at that place, of course, getting your laps in and eventually finding such success?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a drive for me. It's the first time I've made a stop in Buffalo. I live out in Northeast Ohio, so it's about 2.5 hours every single time I came out here, and this is my 4th trip now. But it's been great. It's been fantastic. I've gotten a lot of help coming in and making sure that I've been comfortable. Everything's been set up comfortably, and I can just come in, jump in the sim, and go. It's really kind of just felt like my home away from home for a little bit, especially after I've adapted to the rigs. And yeah, I couldn't ask for a better environment.
And a huge, well, first off, huge travel to get up there consistently, and you've made it work, and a major performance. Send It Sim Racing, Jordan Johnson, the victory is yours. Any final shout-outs or comments you'd like to give after tonight's victory?
Yeah, of course. Thank my team, Apex Racing Team, Apex Racing Academy, for all the help that they've given me. I never would have found this pace without them. I really was playing on all the help and advice that they've given me throughout the months and this past year. And of course, our partners, SDK, VRS, and St. Peter PC Systems, Stormforce Gaming PCs as well, because they just make everything possible for us to come on week in, week out, and get some victories.
Jordan Johnson, pole position, victory in every lap led here in Laguna Seca. Thank you for your time. Congratulations on your win.
Thank you.
And we're going to bring back to number 33 on his way. What a way to get the job done. Send It Sim Racing, the winning sim organization tonight, but a new one on the scene, puts together another impressive performance. Michael Polisak, for the very first time, we've seen him here in V2R. And with that being said, Michael getting the job done for P2. Number 45, we saw it there on the screen. It looks like tonight exactly how you wanted it, with the paint scheme and all, and the performance, wonderful there. Able to come away with a 2nd place finish in your very first V2R event, 2nd to 2nd, straight up. Looks like you had the pace to go for it all night.
Oh, definitely. This was a really fun race. Very difficult as well, because come the end of the day, I was getting pretty physically, mentally exhausted from just driving on the rig. And I knew that I was sort of the cork in the bottle at that point. And Nathan Olson, Paul Darling, and Dakota Fripp, all of them very, very fast drivers. So I just knew I just had to keep it on track, and that's what I did. And I'm very happy to finish P2. I'm not sure P1 was realistic. Jordan Johnson in these cars is just incredibly fast. He's unbeatable.
And we saw how quick he was up in front. You turned out to be as well. First off tonight, the tale of 2 races, getting yourself into the main feature and your first chance of racing around these other drivers here. You haven't been with many of these drivers before for competition. So what was it like getting yourself accustomed to the heat racing to making it into the main feature to begin with?
It really wasn't too bad. I knew that I had the qualifying advantage and the pace advantage, given that I'd be starting on pole. So all I knew I had to do was just get a good start, get a good run into turn 1, and then just compose myself and drive away from the rest of the field. And if I had the pace to run away, then great. If not, then I'd be able to defend my position. Fortunately, despite my unfamiliarity with these GT3 cars, I was able to just have a nice, relaxing race and prepare myself for the feature.
And looks like all that preparation working out, a few more minutes of practice in between. Then we went for flying, qualifying. It seems like qualifying proved to be the big difference between success and failure. I mean, if you look at the results tonight, the top 3 who started in the top 3 all ended up in the top 5, and, well, 2 of which, you and, of course, Jordan, ending up in the top 2. So, with that being said, how important do you think your quick lap was compared to the rest of the event?
Oh, it's absolutely critical. It's very hard to pass in these cars at the best of times, and especially at this track, you don't have that many spots to overtake. So I knew that if I got a good run into turn 1 and was able to get myself to P2, I'd just be able to lock that down for the rest of the race, and that's exactly what I did. I didn't think I had the pace to go for P1. Once again, Jordan Johnson is just really, really fast in these cars. So I'm very happy with how the race played out.
And everything playing out just fine. He looks like Apex 1, brand new here in these events, and it worked out pretty well for the very first try in the GT3 Challenge here. And Apex 1 coming through from New Jersey, another Northeastern team, first and second here, New York and New Jersey. How was it for you of course, trying things out in Apex 1, getting the time in, putting to practice, registering, and eventually competing at that facility?
It definitely took a bit of time for me to get used to the rig and adjust it to my liking, but once I was able to do that, I was able to really start pushing and setting very fast times. And the rig felt really good today. I was able to finally get the confidence I need to get in the car and get the most out of it.
And it looks like you're able to maximize your efforts till the very end, just learning the ropes, and of course everything pays off for a big podium. $1,000 richer as a result. Michael Polisek. With that being said, if you have any final comments or shout outs you'd like to give, the floor is yours.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to thank everybody at Apex One for allowing me to represent them. They're a great group of guys, really good racing center. If you're in the New Jersey area, definitely check them out. I'd also like to thank my family for supporting me, and also John for being such a great teammate. It was a lot of fun to practice for this event and represent Apex One.
And it looks like everything works out just fine. P2 on the day, Michael Polisek, podium finish here in Laguna Seca, and a great very first run here for the Apex One crew. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
And with Apex One's Michael Polisek on the move, one final driver, and it will be Superlap, one of the big teams coming away with a big performance. Tonight, Paul Darling, P3. Let's hear now from your final driver on the podium, Paul making it in for third place. How was it out there tonight, Paul? Leading Superlap driver of 6, and you look strong for the beginning with a heat victory and an eventual podium.
Yeah, it was a really good race at the end there. I'm glad we got to have some fun tonight in that last race. Polisek did a fantastic job. So much respect to Jordan, too, for just pulling away and gapping us. He had some serious pace out there.
It came down to all the natural pace in the late laps, and you, Superlap, getting a very good start with the opening heats. Able to win yours straight up, and it looked like that's where the big trend of qualifying strong and finishing strong began, winning from the jump once more. How was it for you, of course, figuring that out in the first heat, and then impact the way you raced from there?
Well, the session changing really threw a wrench in everything, but I think the top 4 was pretty much the same with Polisek, Jordan, and Fripp, and me. But ended up being a good race and had to settle in and do what you could.
And it looks like maximizing efforts and opportunity from there. 4th to 3rd on the day, 1 spot gained. Not a lot, and it looked like it was quite the challenge to even make one position of that. So how did you feel it was in overtaking when it was possible?
I think it was a pretty straightforward Laguna Seca racing issues, as far as you're not going to make a move unless the driver ahead makes a mistake, and Polisek did a fantastic job not making his mistake, making sure he made it to apex, and got a clean acceleration run off, so he never gave me a shot to try and make a move.
Well, it looks like it just comes down to figuring out the drivers in front and around you, and it looks like playing your part and getting your top 3 finish here. Paul coming away with the prize in your own right, P3, $700, and we've seen you before, but this time around, much better than Watkins Glen, coming away with that podium. P3 here for Superlap, and Superlap came in droves today, so how was it for you working with all the other drivers and Superlap as a whole to get to this point?
Oh, Superlap's been amazing. Dan's been an excellent host for all of us. All the sims are set up amazingly well. It's also in a good location, and the camaraderie of the Detroit area that we have here and enthusiasm for sim racing is pretty awesome. I think all 6 of us were in the 22s in qualifying. It just speaks to how the quality of sim racers around here.
And a huge effort from all those at Superlap. Nevertheless, Paul Darling, you come out on top of those from that team. P3 on the day here in Laguna Seca. Any final comments or shout-outs you'd like to give? We'd love to hear it.
No, just want to thank Joel for putting this on. I hope we can work the kinks out with future events. But ended up being a really good race, and thanks Dan from Superlap for hosting all of us and having an excellent facility.
From Berkley, Michigan, the Superlap crew comes away with the podium finish. Paul Darling, 3rd here from Laguna Seca. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
And Paul Darling on the move. You've heard from your top 3 finishers tonight here in Laguna Seca. Wonderful performance from all those involved. Checkered flag and a fly. Paul Darling finishes in third tonight. Second place from there going to be, of course, Michael Polasek, and race winner after Apex 1's P2. P1, Send It Sim Racing in Getzville, New York, getting the job done with Jordan Johnson tonight in California. A wonderful race and an amazing finish at that. Just came down to the natural speed. Maybe not the closest of finishes, but the best driver certainly did win. And that's what it comes down to at a track that's a skill-based and a combination like this, a GT3 Challenge here in Laguna Seca. You've been watching coverage here on Virtual2Reality TV of the Skip Barber Racing GT3 Challenge. We'd like to thank all those who have tuned in today. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like on the stream and subscribe to the channel. Congratulations to Matt Busa winning our one-day Skip Barber Racing prize for instruction from the Skip Barber Racing School. Congratulations to Sim Racing's, Send It Sim Racing's Rob Van Dusen for winning an iRacing VIP worth $3,000 at retail value. And congratulations, of course, to Send It Sim Racing's Jordan Johnson coming away with a grand prize of $1,700 cash for winning tonight's feature race after 30 hard-fought minutes of action. We'll be coming back in 2025 with exciting events including the GT3 Pro-Am Series, multi-class action with a twist. Expect big prizes and multiple sets, so if you're not competing in one class, the GT3s, find yourselves, of course, with the IMSA Pro Top GT4s. It's going to be competitive for all those, even if you are a pro or amateur or anything in between, and we'd love to see you out on the track once again. You've been watching Virtual2Reality TV, brought to you and powered by FTN Broadcasting from the Virtual WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. I'm your host, David Kreutz, commentating and producing, and we thoroughly hope you enjoy tonight's presentation. From Monterey, California, we thank you for tuning in, congratulate Jordan Johnson, and Send It Sim Racing for their major victory tonight, and we hope you have a fantastic night. Thank you for tuning in, and we can't wait to see you at our next event here on Virtual2Reality.tv.